Shelby.
How are you?
I'm doing all right, thanks. Period day 2, I think. So I'm resting, relaxing.
Good.
How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm on day 4 of like not washing my hair. So it's up, but it like, so after I do the roots, the like scalp is really, really dry. And so it just needs time to like re-oil itself and everything. And so it was okay.
Oh man. Excuse you. Quiet. Okay.
I'm just upset.
Yeah, she's like, hey. This comes in when he's hooting and hollering, huh?
What is it?
Yeah, well, sorry that your scalp is re-oiling and hope it happens faster and slower and that things get back to, normal.
Yeah, a little bit better. Because at least not as like itchy. Like the first it's like really tight and like really itchy and it makes it hard to sleep, but it's better. So it's just a process.
I feel that. Can you do anything about it, like avocado or like scalp creams or?
I'm sure there's things. I usually like in a few days it's fine, so like I don't tend to worry about it. I will sometimes put like more oil on it like the day of or the day after, but I've just had like so many calls and things. I just didn't want to like have super oily hair. Like it's like not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I usually leave my hair oily a couple of days in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just and when it's like redone like this, it doesn't look as oily. But when the roots are coming in, it's just already like
blonde.
Yeah, it's already like a dirty blonde too when my roots come in. So like any oil just looks so much dirtier.
Yeah, I feel that. My hair keeps getting darker and darker and I just quit dyeing it. But I chopped some of it off.
Looks good. I like your hair and your color. Like it all just looks really nice. I feel like mine's just so dull. But yours has like so much dimension to it and whatnot. I love it.
Yeah, I like the golden tones in yours. Sometimes I miss having lighter hair, but I'm just so lazy about all the maintenance, I think.
It is a lot of maintenance.
My hair, like, I had like 5 inches below some of these layers, so it was starting to look really mullety. I was like, I guess I've had a hard year. I should just chop it off.
Totally understand.
Yeah.
My hair was like that like after we got married because I had been growing it out for so long that like the ends were, they just like shrivel and die for some reason. Like,
yeah, they get all frail and lacking resiliency, just like me.
You don't lack resiliency.
Yesterday, I think, or maybe it was the day before, Carlos was like, "You're an orchid," because I guess there's that orchid dandelion theory, which is cute. He said the dandelions don't need as much care; they're more resilient, but the orchids need a little bit more care. He's like, "You're an orchid." I thought that was cute. Hi, Lauren.
Supposedly.
Projector squad.
We were just talking about flowers and hair.
Well, Teddy wants to know.
Hi, Ted.
He said, "What's the hot goss, lady?"
Hi, Teddy.
But flowers and hair, like putting flowers in hair, or just both topics?
Both topics.
I also like the idea of a mashup of those topics.
Sounds very Taurus-y.
Well, we can pretend that is in my chart, but I don't think it is.
You might have a significant penis or something.
Yeah, I forget. You're
the like Virgo cousin energy of Earth. No, okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Exactly. Yeah. How you doing, Lori? Were you up all night?
Yeah, so I was up till 6:30 and then some till 9:30. And then Nate called his brother because he's like, it's weird. They usually, because we have to get approved on like a list because of COVID. So normally we're told ahead of time, you know, where to pick up tickets and stuff for the first, because his game's tonight, and then there's like wedding stuff tomorrow that we were going to. And then his brother's like, oh yeah, they didn't clear me and my leg injury, so I'm not playing. So I was like, okay, so we're still going, but probably in the morning because his mom's wedding's tomorrow. So I was like, okay, I guess I could have slept, but at the same time, I'm glad all that is done, and now I can actually spend today how I want to spend it. So yeah, I'm holding space for both, and also I'm going to be taking naps. I got 3 hours of sleep, so.
Wow. Well,
Naps.
good job.
Thank you. Yeah, because normally I'd have till at least like close the business, but I was thinking we'd be driving from, you know, 1 on, so I was like, I need to have it done early, but you know. And they said, well, we're going to send it back after we do edits. And I was like, actually, that's not going to work for me. So you can just submit it after you edit, and you do those things. So that was nice to put up a boundary.
Oh.
You can do that.
Yeah. It was like, it doesn't make sense to send it back to someone who then would just send it back to you. And yeah, that's just.
Yeah. Extra time.
We're not doing that. It's Friday.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. I mean, there are more people, so I'm going to post in the group.
I'm confused how it's already Friday, though.
Right?
I feel like Monday and Tuesday were very experienced, and then it was like,
It's Dahlia's 1-year birthday on Monday.
yay! Has she requested anything for her potty?
No.
I'll have Teddy ask her what's up. To see what she likes.
Kisses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's always great.
she probably just wants Carlos's, like,
Yeah, I was about to say
attention.
Carlos.
That's all she wants is his unfiltered, what is that, quality attention. She's obsessed with him. Yeah. You say, hey,
Nathan.
gorgeous, and she wags her tail like
Oh, God. He's like, how did you know that I would love this? He'll always try to stay up when I have to work all night, and so like sleep on the couch. And yesterday, it was like kind of warm in the house, so he had a sleeping bag. The fact that a 6'5" man gets in a sleeping bag is just so cute. I can't even. But he had it unzipped, and Honey had somehow wiggled herself inside, so you just saw 4 feet sticking out. And it was just so cute because normally she is more independent in terms of like proximity. If you're not actually sleeping in bed, she'll stay on other like couch areas and stuff, but she was like in there, and so I just kept watching them sleep like a creep, like, oh.
So cute.
Teddy always sits on my lap, surprisingly, so I say he's the grant writer too because he's doing all the heavy lifting. I like slide the little tray thing over his head, and he knows that he has like this much space to.
Thank you. Well, I have the door closed, so we're not going to have any cat interruptions.
We think they're gonna be like, I know how to open the door now.
I hope not. I really hope not, because we keep the bedroom door closed, and they're like, wake up at 4:30 and do all the things, and so we keep the door closed while my dad's on vacation, because he wakes up at 4:30. That's why the cat's wake up. And so they're on that schedule, and I'm like, no. Thank you. No, neither of us can do this.
Aren't they just nocturnal?
Maybe they're kind of, I think they're like, what is the word? The like liminal times, liminal times, where it's like dawn and dusk. But maybe they're nocturnal, I don't know.
I just want to bring attention to how great that motion was to imagine the cat doing that, because that looked very like make biscuits. Yeah.
Make biscuits.
Yeah. I'm in this like chunky cat group on Facebook, and it has rekindled my appreciation for cats. I grew up with cats, but they were really chill like dogs, so I didn't get that some cats were mean or like selective. And so yeah, my one friend added me, but yeah, it's just all these gloriously chunky cats, and people always like, him's needing a biscuit. I'm just like, I appreciate the cat voice language that I've now been exposed to.
Yep. Yeah, they so Magic is like my cat. He's the big one, and he's a little chunky. He's got the primordial pouch, so when he runs, it's like,
oh yeah.
It's great. In the off chance that he runs. And then we have, and he's like the middle child. And we have Grayson, who's the old one. He's like the skinny old man. He loves his like butt pat. You just go to town, and he's like, this is great. Like, you just slap him. He's great. And then we have Brave, who's the youngest one, and he's like 2 or 3 or something. Like, he's pretty young. Magic's like 8, and then Grayson's like 13. So like they run the gamut. And Brave wants to play and be in all the things all the time. And the other cats are like, I don't know, I'm kind of old. Like, fuck off. So there's an interesting dynamic, and Magic loves to like be by you, and he'll sit here and lay. Grayson loves to be in the window, so he'll like come and he'll like race through the window, just like back and forth. And then Brave will try to hop up, but he can't get in the window, so his butt's like always like right here. So they're out right now because they're mostly sleeping right now. Like, they're fine. But when we get up in the morning, they're very active, and then we'll rest back down. And usually towards the end of the day, they're active again.
Cool.
We don't have the energy for it.
My sister has a 1-year-old Great Dane. They rescued him when he was, I think, 9 or 10 months. So they've had him for a few months, but I've only seen him twice. And the second time I was dog sitting for them. And I'm expecting to just be able to have this like huge cuddle bug like everyone who lives in the house does. Oh no, he decided that I'm Great Dane sized and was trying to hunt me the whole weekend. So I got like 4 minutes of sleep, because when a 150-pound dog tries to hump you, and he would pull the blankets off and then try to hump blankets, but he tears up everything. Like, I was like, look, if they want to breed him, I was like, you either have to do that now or get him fixed, because he's destroying everything. And I was like, you should have looked more into what you were getting into. And I wanted a Great Dane as a child, so I'm so glad that didn't happen, because my parents' house, like with hoarding, like there would have been no room. And so seeing how much space he takes to exist, I was like, yeah, that's like the best blessing that didn't happen, because that wouldn't have lasted. Hi, Deborah, talking about dogs humping us, me, against my will, but I survived it.
Congrats on surviving that.
But yeah, he's 150 pounds, so it was a feat. There was a lot of running away.
Yeah.
Is that your dog or someone
My
else's dog?
My sister has a Great Dane now, and he
Oh my
is
gosh.
ready to produce other Great Danes, and I must be Great Dane sized, so there was some miscommunication there. Yeah, so I was like, no, it's not happening.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very funny, but probably not at the time.
No, yeah, now that I've rested and slept and am a few hundred miles away, it's funny. At the time, it was
Like physical
very stressful
distance.
weekend. So I was like, I just drove 5 hours here. I just want to sleep.
Funny.
Oh,
Oh, speaking of.
honk their horn on me.
Speaking of animals, I have
Fuck
things to
you.
say. Oh, okay. I don't know who all else we're waiting for. Let me check.
Was it Kristen? She always says yes.
I know, Kristen. I don't think.
Maybe. Kelly, your drinks always look really nice, and I always ask, and it's usually the same type of response. What are you drinking today?
Yeah, the exact same thing, just iced coffee.
But when you have it, it looks so well put together. I think if you want to practice videoing and make a tutorial on Kelly's iced coffee, I would watch that. So.
This is picked up from a...
Okay, I didn't know if that was reusable. But you make your own, and they always look good too.
We do make them, and Carlos does it. He was like, you could help me out. And I was like, no, you're the only one who knows how. You're the only one. So.
You're the coffee man.
And I just realized maybe mine don't look good because they're in mugs, and I don't see them from the side. So
just
maybe I've been shortchanging myself.
Just get a glass cup. The glass mugs and cups are so fun to drink out of.
I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's one here, and I have a pack of them on my Amazon cart because I'm gonna buy like a set for myself. But they're amazing. Please, Lori.
Yeah, and for
Glass.
hot coffee or cold coffee, it's so rewarding when you like pour the cream in and it's all beautiful and yeah, mixes in. It's
I
nice.
have been robbing myself of life.
And at Bed Bath & Beyond, they're not very expensive, I don't think. And I'm not sure, it's probably a little cheaper on Amazon, but whatever.
But they've always got Bed Bath Beyond coupons. Like you can do the Retail Me Not, and there's always a 20% there. Or if you're on their list somehow, you get the 20% coupons.
Also,
But
I
there's
bet
always
eBay.
20%.
I bet eBay has so many glasses.
Got all the secrets here. Well, secrets to me because I had not thought of inquiring, and now I'm like,
You are.
be looking at everyone's cup. Where did you get that? And I'll be like, please give us 6 feet. I'm like, my eyes aren't.
Also, thrifting for glasses. That's the best place to get glass.
Yeah, I really like the old, like, I assume they were glass. Maybe they were like crystal-y glass, but like the pineapple looking side ones that had like the little triangle print thing. Yeah, I just wanted to be like, and touch it and hope that sound happened, but I don't think it does.
Huh.
It's not a banjo. Oh, being me.
You're good. And you've had like no sleep, so you're perfect. I think we will go ahead and get started. Kelsey may or may not be coming. I know Pam makes the events through Kristen's like account thing, so like that's probably why it says she's always going, but she's here with us in spirit. And then it looked like maybe Pam was coming, so we'll get started, and then whoever hops on. So, does any? All right, let me get you. Actually, before we start, I don't want to share. I want the chat, and I want to put the. I mean, I think we all know it by now. But wins, shifts, and support. Everyone go first. Happy October.
I'll go, I guess. I was like wondering if I wanted mentoring because we just talked on Tuesday, but hey, shit happens in between.
And you get everybody else's thoughts too.
Yeah. So wins. I feel like one win is like being able to do more video marketing and not hate it. Like that's such a. I'm gonna cheer for myself with that because that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because it's funny. I actually posted a rather rambling live yesterday about. This is kind of a side note or a meta note. Someone that I actually disconnected from because I was just like, I do not have time for this crap. On LinkedIn, like they had put this message, like they had this question about, hey, what do you do with marketing or like on social media platforms when the algorithm changes? And I was like, well, I change the type of content. I don't necessarily change the consistency. And I mean, I basically see what the platform is pushing, you know, like Facebook right now, I guess they're still pushing video and groups. LinkedIn is pushing video, a bit. So I'm like, well, video works. I don't like it, but, so, you know, sharing experiences, and then the original poster was like, yeah, like, I don't like video marketing. I was like, yeah, I totally feel you. So I didn't like it either. And so I was just giving my experience of like how, you know, I've seen that, you know, people are watching maybe, or at least a little bit more engaged than when I post other types of content. That's been my experience. I'm pretty sure I used I statements, but I also, if I did say you, I was just like, well, that's what the experts are saying still, that video marketing for all types of people is important. Like whether you're like some corporate brand or a solopreneur, and I was just like, you know what, like marketing isn't for me, it's for my audience. And so if that's the way they need to see me, I just have to suck it up and get used to it. And, you know, I was just giving my experiences, but then he kind of came back condescendingly to me, like, well, if that's what you want to do, then keep doing it. I'm like, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I was just like, well, thanks for sharing this question. And then I disconnected. Because I'm just like, I get that you hate that. I'm not trying to convert you. I'm just giving you my my experience. Like, you can do with it whatever you want, but you don't need to come back at me like that. Like, that's just kind of ridiculous. I just felt like it was a bit of posturing, and I didn't need that. But anyway, yes, video. And I just think in general, the stuff that I've been doing with content has been well received, which is cool. Like, whether I'm writing stuff, I mean, but that's just been a hurdle with trying to connect with my audience, and that's something that could still be improved on. But I just, I guess that's also part of a shift too, because it was just like, man, is this the only thing I have to do? I'm like, can there be anything else? I'm a writer. I don't like doing stuff. Like, I don't want to be seen in that way. Because I think I just have a lot of baggage with like Instagram and influencer type stuff. It's distasteful to me, especially because there's just a whole cottage industry of people being fake, and I'm just like, okay, like, and look at me, I'm real. I'm like, okay, like, now there are like places where you can pretend that you're on a Lear jet, like they're like studios. I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. And someone got caught doing that on Instagram, and then she had to like change her caption. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Anyway, what else? I along those lines, like, I do have like a call plan with someone who I feel like is me, but like further along in their career. Like, they were like a chief marketing officer at the Gottman Institute, which is pretty big with like therapy. And they're like 30, and I'm just like, okay. I'm a little ageist, sorry. It's just more like I'm further along in age, and I guess this is like my second or third act in terms of my career. But I'm still like, okay, like, I just said, hey, like, I'd love to learn more about you and the people who serve. And he's like, excellent, let's chat, which I wasn't expecting. Usually on LinkedIn, it's like, I am a therapist and I serve, or people don't even answer that question. So that will be cool. That happens a week from today. And then someone else was like, yeah, like today was like, I want to, let's chat, like, on the phone. Or so that's good. I'm glad that like that messaging is starting to resonate, that people want to actually take a step further. I'm fine with just like writing again, but like that to get people on the phone is good. And I'm trying to not be, I think last year I did similar stuff with an awful mentor, and it felt really pushy and just a bunch of like NLP abuse, basically. I'm not a fan of that stuff at all. I find it to be highly manipulative. And so I think there's still some baggage with that. I was talking to my other mentor who came from that cohort, and that's probably the biggest blessing from that awful experience. And we were talking about that because I did actually, she was like, last week, you need to do a freeze spell on him. So I did. So he's actually in the freezer right now. Not like, I mean, I at least have gotten over, like, this might be another minor shift that, like, I paid so much money for someone to basically, like, humiliate me. Like, I feel like there's a sense of resolution, but still, like, I'm on the same platform doing similar things. And so I think and this might be something that I need support on. There's this fear that I'm doing the same stuff. I know that things are different. I'm like with you guys. I'm with Shelby. I I've done all this other sort of energetic stuff and cleared stuff. Like I did a ton of work with Megan. But I'm still like, like we're doing the same stuff, and I'm scared that, especially based on me wanting to move and seeing that like coming more crystallized and clear. Like I think there is like a huge fear of failure that honestly it probably is more stemmed to like that bad experience of being in a mastermind, which ended at probably around probably a couple weeks a year ago. So I think there's just still baggage around that, and like I'm just like I don't know how to necessarily shift that. It's just kind of lingering, like here we are, you're doing the same sort of stuff, you're putting content up and you're reaching out to people. How are things going to be different? Even though I know my intellectually, I'm like, you did so much stuff and you've shifted so much stuff since then, since joining Spellbinding Sales, but it's still like, I don't know. I think my body's like, it's not enough. You need something else. I'm like, no, we don't. No, we don't. So I think for me, like where I need support is like, how do I like bridge that like intellectual body gap? Because my body is, I'm not like anxious, but I feel like the anxiety is raising a little bit, and I don't want that to get in the way of me doing what I need to do, whether I feel like it or not. You know, like I know like this is the stuff that got results, but it's also what I heard last year. Like, yeah, if you do this, you should get like big sales, and I'm like, oh. So I don't know. Like, I just this trip hasn't. It's I guess it's still in progress, and I'm like, but I'm at a point where I'm like, I can't do anymore in terms of like energetically shifting shit. Like I'm just like, how much more am I supposed to do? Besides like something about patience and grace with myself. But I think I'm just really freaked out about this because I feel like kind of like what you were saying, Laura, yesterday. Like I'm on the verge of something huge, but I don't, because I'm starting to see just little ripples. It's not enough for me. My body's still like, this is just like last year. You just wasted time and money again. How could you do this to us? I hate you. I'm like, this is for your own good. I know what I'm doing. So that's the conversation I am having with myself. And anyway, I think that's it.
So did anybody, I saw lots of nodding. Okay, Kelly, I see you. I didn't have to ask.
You never have to ask with Kelly.
Sorry, I'm always inserting myself. I know. I'm a
that Aries energy is like, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, so when I've felt this way, which I do often, what I'll do is journal it out, either making a list, like here's what's the same, but here's what's different.
Yeah.
Kristen often makes me like give myself recognition for how much has shifted and changed, because shifts can be subtle, and it's hard to see the big picture develop until time passes. And so the other thing is like creating your story. You can write out your Deborah story, your writer's journey, your hero's journey per se, and acknowledge all of your growth and your steps and your progress. And there's always more room to grow, but there's no way that you're in the exact same spot as you are even a year ago, and that. So sometimes just having the visual or journaling helps the neural integration, because there's reprogramming, but then there's also reinforcing. So you need the reinforcing right now, to just keep reminding yourself that you're on the right path, you're doing a great job. It's not a light switch that you flip.
Yeah. A dimmer.
Yeah, it's definitely a dimmer. I'm like, is that, but my eyes are like, wait, is it just, are the lights coming on, or like, am I just waking up? Like, what is happening?
We definitely get adjusted, to our surroundings. So
Right.
when you need to shift your perspective, you can do some reversions in yoga, like just inverting yourself.
Ooh.
Yeah, like I just pulled this card for somebody the other day. But in the Numinous Tarot by Cedar, they created the hanged one. And let me see if it's like still on top here somewhere.
Is that their latest deck?
Yeah, this was the first one.
Oh, okay.
They very much look like they're doing yoga. That was the comment I got
Mm-hmm.
when I shared. So, and it's about changing your perspective. So I just wanted to like reinforce what Kelly said with like, there it is.
Right, and that has been a card that's come up in readings as well. So
It's also the bat time of year right now, and bat's the same thing. You know, bat hangs upside down and represents rebirth. Babies come out upside down from the womb. So there's, you know, we're also at the closest time liminally to the in-between and the other side. So
And something that I heard yesterday that was like rocked my shit, because it was like one of those phrases that I actually could then feel into a larger message I've been hearing, was when you're feeling like you're on those cusp, anytime you feel like you're about to have that quantum leap, think of the phrase of like hold the pose, but the pose being like actually envisioning what it would feel like to then be at the next place. And then I would add the layer of, if you're a general manifester, it would really be feelings, but if you're specific, you can really add in like what will it look like, what in your surroundings would shift, but holding that and having, whereas I don't spend enough time dreaming in that way, and I realized, and so spending several moments in time each day reconnecting to that helps your system recalibrate. So then that way, it just feels like another way to have that mind-body connection, but have your body lead it too, because your body will then like lead you to what to clear out, so that way you have the capacity to hold the things when they come.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a general, and actually that was something that came to me, I guess yesterday. I was like, I really just need to do more visualization of like what it'll be like when I live in the Pacific Northwest, and what it'll feel like when like I'm not here and like I have the clients that I want, like, yeah. So that is something that's come up this week, so I'm glad to hear that echoed again. Thank you.
also, sorry, Shelby.
No, go ahead, Kelly.
What you were saying, Deborah, I forget exactly which words you were using, but like the wanting to go but not seeing the results right away, that language to me mimics that Mars Saturn astrology that's happening all 6 months. It's like impatience, but Saturn's like slow down, and so
I know.
just wanna wave that flag again.
No, it's and that's
There's
very
only
personal to me, because Saturn's in my first house right now, and Mars is in my fourth, which is home. So yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, and it's not even. I mean, I can be patient, but I think it's also that I'm trying to allow room for things to happen. So I'm just like, okay, like I have this like sort of deadline, but I'm putting pressure on myself. What else can you do to make sure that it happens? I'm like, oh, and I don't want to like implode with that sort of pressure, and then like accidentally self-sabotage and like become immobilized. I mean, right now, like usually the way I deal with anxiety, which is probably why I never saw it as a problem, is like I do end up catalyzing it into action, but I usually feel pretty bad while I'm doing it. I'm just like, it's out of fear. It's not like, yeah, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to fail. So I don't want to come from that perspective, because I know I'm supported, but it just feels, I guess because it feels so big and momentous, and to do another cross country move, well, it's been 8 years, but I hate moving anyway, but like I know what I'm doing, and what I'm trying to do in like somewhat short amount of time is a lot. So I mean, I feel like the pressure is natural. It's not like, whatever, it's all in your head, you're gonna be fine. Like, no.
Right. There's just only so much you can do and force, and then the other half is that surrender and allowing it to happen.
Back to the hangman or
Yeah.
hang person.
Very,
Hangman,
very yin yang, very Mars square Saturn. You know, you've done
yeah.
all the doing you possibly can, it sounds like, and now it's time
Right.
for
And
this.
Mars, and that's why Mars is retrograde. It's like, hey, well, in this story, it's like, dude, like, we are not going to ret for a while. Like, let's review what you've done. And which I really, I used to have this list, like I still have it, of like all the stuff like I was a part of, like in terms of like courses and stuff, just to remind myself, you're doing a lot. Like, you're not like, oh, it's just for myself. It's like you are like throwing a bunch of energy towards yourself and what you want. So please stop feeling like you're not doing enough, which is very much a Capricorn problem. It's like, I could do more, I could do more. Obviously, I mean, of course I could do more, but do I need to do more? No. But it just, I feel like it's just something I have to like keep working through. It's not like going to be like, there might be a light bulb moment, but I'm working towards it. I just, it's just, I'm very uncomfortable with the uncertainty. Again, Capricorn problems, like, we like certainty, we like mitigating risk as much as possible, but I mean, in my head, it's like, okay, like, at least this housing situation, it's weird right now because they're trying to change ownership, and I'm just like, good luck doing that with Mars retrograde. I don't think that's gonna happen like anytime soon, and I'm being proven right. But it's not as chaotic, but I'm still kind of like, oh, the energy drain. I would love to get away from it. I mean, I just like to just start my own life. Like, but I feel like part of that, I don't want to make Seattle this thing where it's like, you have to do all this great stuff for me, or I'm going to be like really disappointed and feel like a failure. Like, ideally in my head, you're like, well, you're starting your life now. This shouldn't matter, like, where you're living. I'm like, well, it kind of does. Sorry. I can't be like idealistic. So I know there's a tension there, and it is Mars square Saturn, and Mars square Pluto today is not helping with that. But yeah, I appreciate all your thoughts on this, because I just need to keep reminding myself, like, you are doing so much. Like, I mean, this year I definitely was like, I'm just, it's balls to the wall. Like, I'm going to do as much as I can energetically. And I know that I've shifted a lot. And I think writing it all down and seeing it all, because I mean, I do some self recognition along the way, but like, I think I need this to be a good time to like review like all this year, like what I've done and what I've overcome. Um, because then at least I could be like, hey man, you've done really awesome, and like you need to toot your own horn some more, instead of like, just because right now this feels like very like focused, and I'm just looking at this one part of the map, and I'm just like, okay, we just have to get over this bridge. Just and I'm like, you haven't seen how far you've traveled like on your whole journey. I'm just looking at this like half a mile. I'm like, like there's an obstacle or whatever. So I just need to keep like basically zoom out and be like, okay, you were here and you're here, like, and you're actually super close, but it feels like, because you zoomed in so much, like that it's really far, and it's not. So okay.
And on top of that, like the last like little bit, like I don't know who ran the mile in like high school. Anybody have to do that? Okay.
Oh, no.
The like last little bit was always the worst because you were always so tired and like you wanted to be done. It was just horrible. Like there's that maybe like that little bit right before you can get to the finish line. like that's like the exciting, you're like, I'm almost done. But there's like that period as you're like getting close to the end, but you're not quite there yet, where it's like the hardest. That kind of sounds like where you're at. Is like you've come so far already, and now we're just at this last little bit before we can start seeing the finish line, right? Where it's just the hardest.
Right.
We're tired and we want to stop and we need a break. But we also like in some respect need to keep going. So that's just kind of what it sounds like. It's just that like
Yeah. There's another analogy to childbirth, and I haven't had kids yet, but apparently in labor there is a part like right before the baby comes where the parent is just like exhausted, and like I've never understood it, like when people are like I just can't do it, I'm done, like I'm so tired, but it's like basically one more push or two and the baby's out. So I've been trying to keep that in mind. Like this is like that part where I feel like I'm just like I can't. Not even that I can't go on, but it's just kind of more like, is this ever going to end? Like, am I going to see what I've actually been pushing towards? Like, I'm gestating this whole time. So I guess I. It's not like I've never done something like this before. Like the way I got to college was miraculous too. And it took a lot of energy to get there. Like just short story. Got into college. My dad increasingly became paranoid, having mental health issues. I'm pretty sure he has bipolar disorder. Decided like a couple months before I was supposed to go that he wasn't going to give his tax returns to the college so we can get financial aid so I could go. So I had to have a forced gap year for that. So I was super evangelical at the time. So I just like prayed every day like crazy. And then in the springtime, he changed his mind and I went. And then even getting through to the end of college, I had to leave the end of my third year, same issues with my dad's mental health. Got kicked out because I couldn't pay. 3 years out of college, but somehow my former resident heads came up with a group of people that basically were like, we're going to put you back in, and like lobbied the dean of students. The one I had before was probably racist, but also had dementia because when she stepped down, she died pretty soon after. So not in her right mind, definitely not supportive of me while I was going through this stuff with my family. So then the new dean of students buddies with my advisor, lucky me. And so like they came up with this whole letter with my advisor, like my former resident heads were like really like the son was like the son of the dean of the college. So like his wife like knew how to cut through red tape, and she brought on like the head of housing. Like there were all these people who were like, they wrote this long letter. I also had to like come up with all this evidence of like, hey, my family can't pay this $6,000. Sorry. So ended up with the dean of students being like, oh, I'll pay part of this part. And then she just decided to forgive the whole thing. So then I was able to like go to the bursar's office and like I felt like I was like sticking up a bank because it was like, here's this note, and like they gave me this money, like all this cash. I was like, so I'm not gonna run away to the Caribbean right now. I'm gonna go to the next window and pay off my debt. So tempting. I was like, holy shit, I've never held this much cash in my life. And and then I I paid it off, and then I was able to enroll. So like so that at least I'm just like, that's like the craziest shit I've been through in terms of like miraculous stuff happening that probably shouldn't have happened otherwise, besides like people believed in me. And like I mean, to that school, $6,000, like to the University of Chicago, like that's nothing. And it wasn't, like, and that's what frustrated me so much. I was like, I got kicked out for this because my family was in turmoil and it wasn't my fault. Anyway, that was a really long time ago, but it's still like I try to remember at least that. I'm just like, that was really hard. It was basically like 8 years of like mess, but I got through it, and I got through it with support. Um, and that, and I know that I'm able to do that again. I still have support. But it is still kind of like, man, I'm like asking a lot of my business, which I'm just like, I almost feel bad because I'm just like, this is like the first year I've really paid attention to it energetically. So I'm just like, I'm asking a lot of you to like get rid of like a really far away and to like a different basically I'm like, hey, can you hop some tax brackets so we can live here and like so you can thrive? I'm like, even though I just gave that whole story, so I'm just kind of like, that's a lot. Okay, like I'm trying to give you as much as I can to do that, but I'm also just, I think what I was being required is for me to not be realistic as much, which is really hard. I'm just like, I need like, here's my plan. I have a plan, but it's just, yeah, to be a little bit more imaginative and have faith is, and to surrender is hard because I'm just like, this is a quantum leap and it can't be just me making it. Otherwise, I'd be like, okay, like, maybe by springtime, that's fine, but I'm just like, no, it's time. Like, it's time to move on from the state. And, but yeah, it's just, I'm just like, oh man, that's a lot. Okay. And I'm recognizing that a lot, but I don't want to recognize it so much that I talk myself out of like putting myself in the space of like basically a miracle that needs to happen. But that I'm in the space for that. I don't want to be in the place of like, okay, let's just do all the realistic things. But again, like I haven't listed all the stuff energetically that I'm done and doing to create that, but I don't know. Like I just, again, this is just a process. I know it's in terms of making that mind body and mind heart connection, so we're not like freaked out. But I mean, a lot of this is also my background, especially living here. It's been super chaotic, so for me to be like, oh yes, let's do it, like of course my body's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's freaking me out. So anyway, that's a bit of the, at least more background on me. Like I give all sorts of other stories, but I guess again, I think Mercury and Scorpio right now, I get hyper focused on stuff, which is great, but then I don't really have any perspective. I'm just like, get through these tasks and just get them done. And I'm like, okay. But I'm not giving recognition for everything else. So I think I may need to feel safe to do that. I must not feel safe. Otherwise, I wouldn't be holding on to these tasks like or like this hyper focused part of the map if I didn't feel safe. So, and I get that. I get why. I have grace for that, but yeah. I'm just like, yeah, it's a big deal, and I'm asking a lot, and I hope that it happens. But I'm also still like, I don't even have space for like disappointment anymore. I'm just kind of like, this kind of has to happen. It's not going to happen. So that's also scary to kind of put myself in that space because I'm always planning for when things don't go right. So it's weird kind of to be like, I don't have that sort of plan right now. I'm just like, this is going to happen. So yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, Kelly said that makes a lot of sense. We all nodded when we were like, yep, probably the, not totally feeling safe. And she also said not a matter of if, but when. So
Yes,
it's not if
right.
you're going, it's when you're going.
And I agree about the 6 month. I mean, it's kind of hit a wall. I think I hit one at 3 months. But yeah, it's just been been a lot. I think I even forgot about that. The pandemic adding a layer of uncertainty and stress. I mean, because this would be big without that, but on top of that, I mean, I know that's always in the background, and sometimes I don't pay attention to it, but I even have to remind myself, like, yes, this is taking a toll on everyone, so. Okay. I think one just fine thing, I just kind of like, okay, like, if it doesn't work out when you want to, I mean, it's not something that you should give up on, like, and I think it's not like you're not in tune with, like, timing right now, like, I've given myself to like early December because I wanted to clear both Mars retrograde and Mercury retrograde that's coming up, and like clear the shadow of it and just be like, all right, Mars is still kind of going direct and clearing that shadow, but I'm not going to wait till January for that. Yeah, like I feel like at least in terms of the realm of miracles, that's reasonable, but being a general manifestor, I'm just like, that's the range I have. Like, if it was January, I wouldn't cry about it. I'd be okay. So, yeah, just if I do worst case scenario, I'll just be like, well, I guess I would just feel impatient, but I wouldn't feel like I'm not completely safe, at least at this point. So, yeah, just. But still, I'm still like, I think it's just like, I don't want to be a failure. And I have to like get through that because I'm just like, failure isn't bad. It's just part of the learning process. And
My therapist and I talk about this a little bit with like depersonalizing goals. Like if a business owner doesn't meet a goal, it's not personal. You just shift the goal and learn what happened, why you didn't meet the goal, and then you just make a new goal and you just try again. So it's not
right.
personal. If you don't meet the first goal, you just kind of discern why and then do it again.
Depersonalizing is a good point because everything feels personal.
I take everything personally. Yeah, everything is personal to me. It is an exercise, but
no, that's I think it takes the pressure off on me and even my business. It's just like, hey, this is what we're aiming towards, this is what we're working towards. If it doesn't work out, it really won't be the end of the world. It will be a learning experience, and then I can tweak. And I mean, this is kind of an experiment for me, but I guess I also feel like there's so much like on the other side of this where I feel like it's good, and I'm really anticipating the good, but it's also like the opposite of that isn't like, death. It's not. I mean, I get to try again if that happens. So,
You're not starting over either.
no,
Not
it would just be like,
it's just a
okay, right, exactly. So, ooh. Yeah. So,
Can I share a message that I'm feeling?
yes, please.
This is a thing to play with. So I've been I've been slacking on my synclarities, but giving self grace because patches and pandemic muggle shit. But something that I have been enjoying playing with is like the idea of this or something better. And so you had said worst case scenario, but sometimes I like this week I'd been asking myself what would the best case surprise be, and that's helped me feel like a more capacity to hold multiple wonderings is like the language that I was feeling. And so that way we can just again like have like, even if it's 10 seconds, like our nervous system is like, ooh, a little break. And so just like that feels to me like a gentle way to explore recalibrating. But yeah, just to throw that language out and that idea in case that's something that resonates with trying.
Yeah, it does. I think it's expansive, and because me going worst case scenario is expansive in one way to be like, okay, you have freedom to fail, but to not be like, okay, I have this this idea of what I want, and it's kind of limited. Best case surprise could open up all sorts of other good things that could come my way. So, with that college example, I had no idea how that was going to work. Like, I knew I wanted to go back, but like the dean of students, like, forgiving that wasn't what I had in mind. I just knew I wanted to go back, and I knew like saving up that type of money was hard with the income I had, but like, um, even before, like, she's like, I'll pay this, but not this part. And that was maybe under 2 grand that was left for me. I was still like, okay, that's a little bit more accessible, but then it just expanded to, no, I'll just forget the whole thing. So I mean, I guess in a general manifestor sense, that makes sense, because I was just like, the goal was get back to school and graduate. Had no idea how that was gonna, like, and I couldn't even like play with, oh, I'll get some scholarship. It was a void. Like, and then it was filled with a couple of possibilities, and then one like came through, which, I mean, I wasn't expecting her to. Had no idea how that was going to go, the whole letter and packet thing, but like it worked out. So I had to just remind myself that, like, even with this, I know I want to be in that area. I don't know what that's gonna necessarily look like. I'm looking into different areas, but like the how, letting go of the how is hard, because I'm so used to being like, I'll just figure it out myself, and that's been not. I mean, yeah, but I only have like limited like creative skills in terms of that. Like, it could be so many different ways of like this coming into fruition. So opening up to that, I think there's still some fear, like, like. So I told Shelly, like, I feel like, is that meme of like Henry Cavill standing on the red carpet, and then like Jason Momoa about to like tackle him like happily. That's what I feel like right now, but I probably wouldn't be smiling like I'm gonna tell you, like, oh no. So yeah, like, best case surprise is awesome. And oh, I love thinking this for Lori. I love thinking about the how as the gift wrapping. If I want the gift or surprise inside, I'm okay with a different bow. Then I would pick myself, and I'm just gonna copy and paste that, because that's perfect. Because I mean, honestly, if it was a paper bag, I wouldn't care. It'd be like, it's a brand new car, yay, or whatever, Yeah, as long as it's not covered in shit, I'm fine. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I think you have a lot there to kind of start playing with now.
I do.
If you don't remember, I wrote, I think, most of it down. So
Okay.
I have it.
I might want that. Oh, that's right. You talked about that, Lori, about being a gift wrapper. Wow, that would be. That's wow. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen, besides what you told us yesterday about the $4,000 tank. Like, I'm sure you've wrapped a bunch of ridiculous shit. Like, yeah.
David Hasselhoff loves salmon colored sweaters. They would give me the celebrity orders because I didn't give a crap. And so he ordered a lot of those.
Oh my god!
It's great.
That's awesome.
We're gonna have to like find pictures of him so you can be like, yep, wrapped that sweater. Yep, wrapped that sweater. Wrapped that
Why
one.
didn't I think of that? Oh, Shelly.
Fun project.
I know, right?
Yeah. Okay. So do you feel a bit better, Deborah? You have
Yes,
some
I do.
things that you can work on. You've got a little bit of a game plan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You satiated the Capricorn a little bit.
For now, I mean, I mean, it's relentless. You know what I mean? Like there is
Yeah.
no satiating, but like there is like maybe like, oh, I have a new task and there's a new plan, so let's
Okay.
keep that and
Something to play with.
right to distract from the existential angst. So yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay. Who wanted to go next? Let's go. Does Lori want to, so she can take a nap?
Are you okay with that, Kelly? So yeah, I need to eat too, so I'll probably share then eat while Kelly goes in the nap. But so keep in mind, I've not really slept and I have not really eaten, so who knows what's gonna happen.
Magic.
So I opened this as if I wrote down anything for wins. I did not. I took notes on other stuff. So wins is feeling like being on that cusp and really seeing, like feeling like there's a vision there and like a returning to the why is feeling really nice, and having it feel like my community or network is like expanding at a pace where it's not overwhelming, but there's just it's that energy is coming in, which feels really nice. I'm sure there's other ones, but a shift. I think I wrote down like one word like that's gonna help. Oh no, it was a win. Yeah, so I enrolled in this publishing program thing last week. I had been invited to go in previous session like cycles, but it just wasn't the time, and so I'm doing that. And from that, it's a really nice space where I mean we've only had 2 calls so far, but each time I'm recognized a lot for what I share, so I feel like I get a lot of energy poured in. One lady said she's my new groupie on Monday, so I said I'll accept that. But another lady was curious about, because I had mentioned I explained after I like onboarding, so if we're hearing reflections I could share, but I wasn't asking for advice necessarily, and that got into human design topic. And so this one lady wanted to know more, so we had a little chat. And so I'm going to be interviewed for a podcast next week. So that's nice, because a week or 2 ago, someone was talking about podcasts and being on, and I just sort of was like, I'd like to be on one, and just said it like loosely, but just like put the energy there. So that felt really nice, that it seemed like a pretty quick turnaround. So again, like the surprise of the packaging, that moment of just someone I just randomly met. So that felt nice. It also was funny and helpful for me, and a reminder that I'm not for everyone, not even, and then being able to not personalize that as like each tool is not for everyone. So that lady's like, what you shared was really helpful for me in this conversation, because she had like shared her chart, but I'm much more into Enneagrams, so that I'll dive into, and like that's my thing, but I appreciate what you've offered right here. So she wants to like share Enneagram stuff with me in the future, but it was a helpful reminder again that like not every tool's for every person, but there can be something you get out of it, but it doesn't, yeah, my intention doesn't have to be to convert people to human design, it's just like, oh, like this is a conversation. So that felt like a win. Shifts is like I woke up, it was like September 30th, and I just suddenly was like, tomorrow's October. Just felt such a difference in energy, and realized like I've done so much self-reflection, and now it's the time to really, and I appreciate Deborah, your comment of like really reflecting on all that's happened. So this is my reminder out loud, because I did not write this, to do that. So that way, and Kelly, I appreciate your idea of like the columns, and then yeah, being able to have that be a self-recognition. And so, yeah, I really feel like now there's energy there to actually create and share and do from a place of being. And also realizing, yeah, like I shared yesterday, just the ways that in the past I have not had access to realizing this kind of energy shift, and then still stayed in a place of, oh, to study forever. Yeah, and really, oh, the wind chimes are real happy about this. They're like, hello, bamboo bitches. Which is funny, they never go, and I'm like, what's happening? Why aren't they singing? Yeah, so energy shifts are happening. Shit, what was I gonna share? Fuck, shifts. A lot of cussing. It happens. You're not surprised. Yeah, and so that it's just like feeling nice and exciting. A lot of, oh yeah, so the past month I've been leaning into a lot of like, what would it be like to trust myself? And that's been spooky. I'm like, whoa, that's a thing. You know, because it's like if someone asks you on the street, do you trust yourself? You're like, yeah, you know, I know how to floss. Like it'd be some random scenario where you're like, I can do that. But now I actually feel like a sense of like what that could be like. And with that, I've been inviting myself to soundboard more because I realized a few weeks ago that I hadn't really couldn't remember times where I was soundboarding if it wasn't something super big. So I realized that I have access to choice or clarity. That's, you know, like my process of getting that. So that feels like a shift. Hershey wants to go and get water. So at some point we'll be walking in there. She's doing a little mars at me. Supports. Yeah, she's so funny. She is a great example of how to advocate for yourself. Supports feels like, yeah, like how to hold those both energies of pandemic is happening. You've gone through a lot of energetic and like physical loss lately, like holding space for all of those things, and also being so ready for the next step. Yeah, and like perhaps just some suggestions, advice, anything. I'm always up for any kind of exchange with how to just literally get things out, like pages out, and like and really believe in the idea that I can always revisit and make changes at any point. I think I am really, one of the parts about whiteness that I'm really trying to challenge in myself is that I should only have to do things once and then it should just be done. But like, that's not life. Things are constantly like, we're going to always be transforming and there's so many layers. And so the perfectionist comes in there of like, and this has happened most of my life of, well, if it's not perfect, like I can't do it out, or if it's not the exact right time, I can't finish it all at once, and then I don't start things. And so that feels like a part of trust to build out of project management and being able to, so like I've re-listened to most of my soundboards for offerings. And so this weekend, like I have to travel a lot, but like during Colorado, so I'm going to try to actually just get the text there and just like literally put things out, knowing that like I can tweak it each week, or like as I get feedback, if it's not usable, make those kinds of shifts. So yeah, any support with just like how to actually fucking do the thing for once, because I would really like to experience that of actually finishing something that I say I would, that's for me and for my business, and not because usually the things I finish is when like someone has power over me of like, you'll get fired if you don't do this. So it's like a whole new experience for me to be able to take action and commit to something where it's not from that type of power dynamic. Yeah, or if anything else seems like any support. I was not, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's a big shift, and yeah, or she had a yawn or something. But yeah, whatever's coming up. Maybe things will come up as we go, but that's feeling it. Oh, and on the other side thing is I have heard this, like, a lot of really great lives. I caught a lot of really good videos this week where I just was like, oh. And one of them was on rising signs and like expressing yourself. And, you know, all the Scorpio things, you know, are usually like colors that I was really indoctrinated to not like deep colors, you know, like, oh, it's too satanic or bloody, you know, like that type of, like, I was really told that a lot. And so I was thinking even about all the colors that I had in my like business color like portfolio, and it's like all colors that like I do enjoy seeing, but they feel like they're, and I have to invite myself to always be in that energy, so to speak. And so like pastels and floral, you know, like, but a lot of the ethos behind my work is to get to the deeper shit, and then from that place be able to shine that light. So I'm also just feeling like part of fully stepping into myself and how I want to show up for people is expressing that fuller message of, oh yes, that's the thing of like, I had really big clarity of like magic matters is a really big thing for me right now. And even the moment I shared that in like a group page thing, like everyone who commented on that particular line, which I didn't even really realize I typed. So yeah, now I'm just rambling. And but yeah, so just like any supports on this really fully stepping in, any suggestions on how to get and share from that place of depth when it's not a one-to-one situation, because that's where I feel like I don't have as much confidence or experience, is going deep with content that is where it's not just like too much, or where even afterwards I'm like, oh, I don't even want to go back and read that. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop because the energy's not there. This is not a soundboard. This is a regurgitation. So yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. It sounds like it was stuff that you needed to kind of get out. So there's that. Even if it's not like a soundboarding thing, it was stuff that just needed to be said anyway. So you've got kind of a big shift with like everything going on right now. And you're in that, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce this, but that liminal space, or that liminal space where you're kind of like in between the shifts. And that's always kind of hard because you feel like you're here and there at the same time. So I just want to reflect that back to you first, that like that sort of sounds like what you're going through, and if that helps to frame things a little bit better for you. And then, did anybody have any thoughts? Kelly said KJ.
Oh, go ahead.
Kelly said KJ always has to schedule in some time to plateau and integrate. So I just wanted to add that real quick so we didn't miss it.
The only thing that came to mind is, Laura, do you have anything that you like doing that you're not great at or perfect at?
Are there things that I'm not good at that I enjoy doing?
Mm-hmm. Or like perfect at? I mean, you're kind of
yeah.
okay, or you're not like a virtuoso. You're just you just like doing stuff.
Art stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make Nate laugh. His type of humor is so specific. I try all my best dad jokes. No, yeah, that's the thing. I love playing, and like when I'm actually in the space of just being myself, it really like perfectionism doesn't feel like that creeps in. And now I'm realizing that there's just something about knowing that it's something to share out. It's like, if it's not the interaction in the moment and something that will happen, I just feel like somehow that shifts, and then it becomes perfectionism because it's like, it feels like a doing thing instead of a being thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of, I mean, that's a transferable skill, because I mean, it would be good for you to be in that play energy that isn't pressured, but it's also a place that is you too, like, so to share yourself, like, you need to be in that space anyway. So I could like try to like figure out how to do that for you, but I don't feel like that is what I'm supposed to do. I just felt like I need to reflect that you can do that, and making that bridge into like, or teasing out why that's happening in terms of, I mean, you just explained why, but there must be a way to basically like psych yourself out and just be like, nope, I'm just sharing and I'm playing, and it's not a big deal, and there's no like like dire consequences if I just share, and without like thinking of anything happening beyond like just the act of sharing, that there's something magical about that, like the act of sharing yourself in play mode. That's where stuff happens, and versus like, no, I had this task, kind of like how I was with, and probably still am with video marketing. I'm just like, okay, I have to do this now, kind of like just basically taking my head out of it. I'm just like, all right, like this as a generator, like, oh, I'm responding to this. Like my last video was responding to people being kind of condescending dicks to me on LinkedIn, but I didn't phrase it that way. I phrased it more into like, hey, like, we're all dealing with a bunch of stuff, like try to give grace to each other, but if people are being jerks, then feel free to disconnect and take care of your energy. But I don't know, I just I wish you well on that trip of like making that connection of how to make video or just sharing content play, because I don't know, like content and all those words. I like that your Virgo-ness is so innovative in the way that you even phrase things, because there's magic in that too. So can there be a way of like not making this about content or sharing or whatever words you've put around that and making them into your own words, and then it's definitely more you, and that takes the pressure off, and it's just like, hey, it's just self-expression, it's just me. But again, you being Scorpio rising, this is difficult. So I'm not, Scorpio rising is not about sharing. It's about, I'm a mystery and I'm not going to tell you anything. So you're definitely beating, like hitting up against that. And so I recognize that too. That's tough. So, but I think there's still, I think you have an Aries in, like you want to still self-express. So that's important. So I recognize that this is challenging, but I feel like you can use that Virgo innovative mercurial way to like reframe this in a way that your brain is like, oh my god, I'm sharing and people are gonna think I'm just like this goth girl or whatever stuff is going on with content sharing. Because I mean, I feel like it's there, like you're already doing it, so that's why I'm just like even you sharing yesterday felt like you were doing it. So that was actually one idea I had, was like, you can share in our group and we can be your guinea pigs, like you've been doing anyway. If there's stuff that you're like hesitant about, like our group can be a safe place to play, and like just there are no consequences. We can just, if you want feedback, you can ask for it. You don't have to get feedback. You can just be like, I'm just sharing just to practice, and that way like there you can see what that feels like with a warm audience that likes you anyway, and it won't feel so heavy or full of consequences. Okay, yeah.
Thank you. I had a few things more, but Kelly, go ahead and share first. I'm doing like a little consciousness stream, and then I'll at the end.
Are you sure?
Yeah, please.
I feel like I have a lot of things to say. Let's see if my brain stays with it all. I might come out a little lectury, so forgive me. First of all, you're quad left in your human design with your arrows. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the opposite answer of Deborah a little bit and say that what you're lacking is structure. Because there's this idea of free play, but then there's also structured play. And it's kind of like how I have the same battle with like structure and limitations, but when you just approach a blank canvas or a blank piece of paper, it's really hard to come up with an art. But if you give yourself some parameters or limitations or goals for what you're trying to get out of, you know, the play or the experience, then you're going to have a little bit more structure to have growth or a trajectory or a perspective. So what I would say for you is that you need goals, and then you can play within them. So you're like, for example, your RFPs that you do, you're like, I've got to get this done first thing, and you stay up all night and you do it. And so you do work really well within deadlines and structure, like you always get things done. So I feel like giving yourself a big goal, like launching my offers, and then you have to break it down into smaller goals. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like? And how many achievable steps can you take within, you know, a day or a week? Like give yourself 1 or 2 tasks, but creating that really structured pathway is going to give you, you know, achievable action items, and then you won't feel like you're just like flailing in the internet space, like trying to connect with people. Because you can say that your goal is to connect, and so your goal is to connect and to share your things. So every time you choose to play, you can play, and then at the end have that connection piece that's like, how is what I'm doing connecting to the goal that I want to accomplish, which is selling my services, or just connecting with people to then whatever, sell my services. I think I had another thought. Oh, so, okay. Yeah, I would give yourself a deadline. And like we just talked about with Deborah, it's okay if you don't meet your deadline, but just give yourself one. Is it 2 weeks, or is it, 1 month from now that you're going to have, what is it? Is it a Instagram square with all of the details of your offer? Is it a Google Doc that has all of the details of your offers? There needs to be some very physical, tangible interpretation of what you're offering and what you're serving, so that when you do play, you can be like, does this relate to you? Does this light you up? Here's how I can serve you. And then you just copy paste, pass that information over. But creating structure is not fun, coming from child of a hoarder who doesn't like to do it, but it sets us up for success. Especially if you give yourself parameters of, this is when I'm playing, this is when I'm selling, this is when I'm researching, this is when I'm experimenting. So you are an experimenter with your 3, but you can also look at things you've done in the past, what has worked, and then experiment with repeating those things for repeat results. So you don't have to invent out of the box every time you're doing something. You just, look and see what has worked in the past and try to recreate that, and then play within those parameters. Does that make sense? Because you're always going to be playing, and with the 3-5, that's like what makes you so fantastic for the rest of us. Like, we feed off of your energy of like the jovial, the play, the lighthearted, the feeding the heart energy. And so for you to do that successfully, you need to create a structure to shine.
I'm so glad this is recorded, because I was like, I can't even read the notes I was taking. I was like, yes. So thank you both. So I'm just going to share the things that stuck out. So then again, if there's anything that's happening, we can do that. Honey has opinions. So yeah, so creating from a space to play. And Deborah, I really appreciated the invitation to create my own words for what is content, what is sharing, what is that. So that was and also right before you had started bringing astrology in more, I thought of the day I woke up on my 30th birthday last month, I was saying I'm a Virgo, and actually connected to that energy for the first time, because it didn't feel oppressive or boring. And so I realized that what happened, one of the pieces is that when it goes to creation, when it goes to Virgo energy, but my relationship with it previously. And so now I'm oh, I want to reconnect to Virgo intentionally and really be how is this play date creating a way to nurture and nourish the people I'm connecting with, and holding space for that playful. So that was one of those things that I explore that's nice. And also I realized that creating content feels like there's an energy shift at the back of there's a person having power over me, because I'm thinking of this is going to be graded. There's that subconscious thing there. And so that's something I want to tease out. And also I want to journey doodle out what experience do I want people to have in general when I engage with them. And so then from that place, see what the flow of content, because I realized one of the places I get the most in my head is about the how, the funny enough, about I have all of these ideas, how do I get them out? And so I think literally drawing a fun board game or something, I think is what I want to do, and just see where things are, where the nexus are, where things intersect, just to see a little bit more of that tangibility. So then Kelly's point of having structured play, I was suddenly what is that? Because my idea of play as a kid was the only thing I really had access to, which was reading books. So it was you have the book and then you're just in it. And so that makes me really curious, about structured play, because it is the if I see the blank canvas, once I make the first mark, I can go from there. But if I'm just staring at it, I'm all the possibilities. I really felt in all of my cells being listen to that, there. Yeah, so I'm So I wrote down what's my sandbox, and I want to play with that idea of like with each type of content or each message, what's the sandbox that I want to play in. Yes, I appreciate the insight on goals, and again, how that can be something like it's like what structure or foundation am I then showing up from? Yeah, and so one of the things that I've said I want to do, but I haven't done it. So this is one of my first goals as well. It's just like a me goal, and then there's a business goal that I want to make a 3-5 recipesto because like, you know, recipe, pesto, manifesto, it's a lawyer thing, but like really log all my 3-5ness, because I had realized a month or two ago, like I only really remember the things that work, because like from a trauma response and forgetting the things that I know don't work, but that could also then really be an anchor, and like it just really expands all the places from which then I can orient and experience myself. And so I want to make my recipesto and just have that somewhere where it doesn't have to like be lost in here or just way down in my body. So that also feels a fun content pillar. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, recipesto. And even in like a literal food sense with like my taste cognition, I have been thinking of like what I yes and the most in life is like the weird ass food mashups that I make out of like what just happens to be left. So I'm always just like the other day I made fish tacos out of leftover Long John Silvers, like, and my one friend was like, that is like the most like unexpected glow up I've seen in food of like it actually looking edible. So yeah, I appreciate that idea of recipestos being a fun place to play from. Also, my feet are getting sunburned, but I'm okay with it. I just wanted to share so I'm not surprised in the morning when they're peeling, but yes.
Did you want to go in? Do you want to take honey?
See, I have, like, no. I'm just, like, going in that way where I'm like, if I can get sun, I could also just move where my feet are. I'll probably do that. Hershey has given up on getting water. They're back out, you know, dogging. But thank you for asking. Sometimes in a reminder, like, I can move.
It's okay. So how are you feeling now?
I'm excited and grounded. So I have decided to embrace those things in the parking lots that are like, because that's what it can be like. They're not floating away and flying. They have that anchoring, and, you know, and yet they have that adaptability of like where the air is taking them. And so I want to like play into and feel into that energy of like, how can I have that structure from which then to have that fluidity. So it's like, yeah, exactly. So I'm going to need to get some gifts ready to have some wacky inflatable gifts ready, because, you know, we're all out of SpongeBob. But yeah, thanks everyone. I really appreciate that. I'm really grateful for what came up. And I will be taking you guys in my kitchen with me. So thank you.
You're welcome, Lori. I'm so glad you got, everybody had such good stuff. Everybody's always got such good stuff. You guys are amazing.
And I do appreciate when it's this cozy group. It just seems like these dynamics of when it's just 4 or 5 people are really potent.
Yeah.
I agree.
I also love the small groups myself.
Yay. All right, good. So we're all just gonna like, I just want us all to like give ourselves a little pat on the back for like all of the like awesome stuff everybody's already shared to each other today. So yeah, never can clap. All right, so that brings us to Kelly. Kelly.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. I always try to like rush through because I so stressed about taking up space, but trying to just take up space and sweat about it anyway.
Yes. The only way out is through. We're not going to let you get out without taking up space today.
Which is my shift. Yeah, it's like Kristen said in the Facebook, she's like, it's all right to be jittery and nervous. You're doing a new thing. And I'm definitely in my north node with the trying to do this stuff and leading, and I just feel it every day. I just feel so nervous and panicky. And also I have Chiron and Gemini in my second house, and I've been really noticing that lately, how like every time I talk or share, I'm like, do you get it? Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? When really my friend Kyle put on LinkedIn, he's like, a good speaker doesn't worry about if their audience understands them. A good speaker makes sure the audience knows that you know where they're at and like can speak to where they're at, if that makes sense. So I need to make sure I'm doing that a little bit more. But to go back to my wins, my Q3 money was my highest so far this year. Also since starting my business, woo, it still was like relatively low. Like I'll be lucky if I make $12,000 this year. But that's my goal, I guess. That's about what I did last year. My September sales were also my highest month so far by just a little, or no, my second highest month. It was my highest month in that quarter. But it felt a lot more easy than the first time I had that month of higher sales. It felt a lot more energetically manageable. I didn't feel like, how am I supposed to do this? How can I handle this? I think I did raise my prices a little bit since that first time. So I think I'm getting closer to being in an energetic balance with like having fewer clients that support me. I can support them. Yeah, so that's good. Those are wins and shifts. Another win was actually taking a little vacation. My therapist has been trying to get me to do that since before I quit my job 2 years ago. So just taking that little like road trip to go be off the grid for a weekend was very nice. It was very noticeable. It makes me realize how like even I'm feeling, what's that word where you're like stir crazy? I'm feeling a little stir crazy even at home. And I'm someone who loves to be at home. But I just keep reminding myself every day that we're in a pandemic and there's fascism and people don't want us to survive. And Oakley died a year ago and Miko got attacked and there was the earthquake. So I just feel like this year keeps.
And the water.
Yeah,
or whatever it was.
Yeah, the water broke, the power went out, that crazy windstorm. Just feels like it's one thing after another. But in my human design, my north node is like the gate of crises. Pam said, you're supposed to be here at this time. So I just like have to get used to crises after crises, which sucks, but I guess I'm getting better at it. That's a shift. And then let's see.
You're feeling more confident in handling crises?
Oh, I guess so. I don't know if I'm feeling more confident, but I'm, like we talked about earlier, not letting my fears stop me from taking action. I don't know if I ever feel confident. I was.
Do you feel competent?
Yeah, I feel
if we change the word
in my skills, definitely. But I don't always feel competent in my ability to be a human. Like if I was just a robot doing my work, I would be, great stars, great work. But every time I would have like a feedback review, it's always like, Kelly, your people skills need work. And that's still true. I'm definitely a lot better than I used to be, like being able to be at home, being able to rest more than I ever did before has allowed me to improve my people skills and my customer relation skills and not feel like I need to just like isolate and hibernate and hermit. So that's definitely a shift. I maybe feel a little bit more confident in some of my design work. But I even posted on Facebook like, oh, I'm super nervous about leading this group. And Sonia, she like sent me a message and she was like, you should only be sharing about it when you're super excited. And that's
No, you're human. Like, we need to.
yeah, I was like,
People are watching you be a leader and they're only reading about your excitement. They're not going to realize that they can also be nervous, and they're going to deny that. And so you're highlighting that we can all be nervous and it's okay.
yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I agree. I also feel like it's a little bit more genuine, because it is my North Node too. It's like, that's something I talk about in my work is like, you can't expect to just like be in your North Node and feel confident and competent and capable. Like it's a scary place to be in. It's a stretch emotionally and energetically. And I do think it is like more in line with my integrity to be upfront about that. I think that it would make my anxiety worse if I was pretending I wasn't having crazy anxiety about it every day. From my personal experience, like inserting myself into situations where my anxiety feels like this, I know what this is like, and I know that it subsides with time, but also talking about it and being honest about it makes me feel a lot better than like pretending it's not real or not happening.
Yeah.
So
we're just gonna like that like
I know. And I know like other people have different ideas about that, but a lot of the messages I was getting like from Anna's little crystal thing and even Kelsey's little oracle, it's like, be yourself, because I always try not to be. And so just trying to allow myself be the weirdo, nervous, jittery human that I am. I can still lead. I still have expertise. I still can like provide support and be like this. So those are all shifts for sure. Whew, yeah. And I think that the like transit nodes right now, or the North Node is hitting my Chiron and Gemini. So it's like even more of me just like feeling just jittery and like, hello, do you understand me? Am I speaking English? Like, are these words? So I just feel like that every day. But realizing that the people who are here for me and who I'm for will see me and find me, and I don't have to speak to anybody else. Like I already have an audience. I don't have to pretend I don't.
we all love you.
Thanks, I love you. I'm super grateful for our little community and our friends, and I love my friends in person too, and I've said this a lot before, but like I'm so weird to them. And you guys are weird in the same way that I'm weird. We could talk about magic, we can talk about weird things, and that's like that support and shift in that type of community, I think makes all the difference in feeling safe. Like we were talking about earlier with Deborah, like if you don't have that safety, it is really hard to be weird or be on the leading edge, or like to be socially ostracized. Like you totally need communal support to step out of your safety box. So I'm super grateful for y'all. I think that's basically all my shifts. It's like the scared and the discomfort, feeling grateful. Oh, I've also been really feeling more into my gate 55 abundance and just trusting that the money will come and I don't have to do anything, that like I can ask, hey, I really need some money right now, and then wait to receive. So practicing that. Trust. Yeah, thank you so much. It's definitely a huge shift from where I was last year or before I ever really understood that gate, because it's one of my subconscious gates, my red gates. But also as like someone who grew up a bit atheist, more agnostic, anti-religion, like that's been a big shift to embrace, is asking guides for support, asking the invisible and the unseen to support me, because it just feels like shouting into the void until you see the effects. But yeah, being in that space of trusting and Every day I give Kali Ma my stresses about fascism and white supremacy and say, please help. I know you're on it. Like, thanks so much. Thanks so much for all the hard work that you're doing. I see your good work. Please keep on it. And that makes me feel a little bit better. But in terms of support, let's see, I have several things. One is not related to my current stuff. Channeling, I feel like I need to be doing more channeling. I don't really know, am I allowed? Do I have to be like, you know, attuned? Do I have to set it up? What do you guys know about that? And then in addition to that, for the Mint Passage, I just want to like say all the things and see if I'm missing any pieces. So we'll come back to channeling, I guess. But the Mint Passage, I've got a couple more posts left. I'm starting my week-long challenge next week. I think I'll ask my group which meditation style for 1 week sounds more fun, but I kind of am leaning towards one of a couple versions anyway. I might offer like, here are 3 types of focus meditations you can try, and then let people have their own. I need to create some kind of a log, whether it's just a sheet or wind shift support, just like a little text for people to log, but I need to create like a log system still so people can have a control night and then compare the remaining 6 days. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, we always need that control, right?
Yeah.
The control night, I'm not going to tell anybody except for like, do this. And then the next day we'll say, here are some things that you can do to improve like your comfort or your sleep or your focus. And then the next day I was going to offer a couple little feng shui tips. So there's a couple of instances to see a shift occur. Yeah, while also trying to keep it as simple as possible. It's just a focus meditation. The benefits are improved focus, improved discipline, which allows you to respond rather than react. There are some more, like I picked out a benefit for my 6 client signifiers, and I think I'm going to make a 1 carousel post that's like, here are 6 benefits you can like experience from a disciplined meditation practice. And that's not on my schedule, so I have to add that in. But then opening the doors on the 17th, I think I will keep them open potentially for a month, but potentially just 2 weeks. Depends on how my energy is and my signups. Yesterday, my Oracle cards, I pulled Labradorite, and it's reminding me to use my telepathy and my channeling and my psychic connection to call in the client. So I'm trying to focus more on the energy work a little bit this time than stressing myself out over the marketing. So I need to do the calling clients in still. And then there was something else associated with that. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember. And then I was thinking for pricing, because I want to do what Pam suggested of like just focusing on the first tier, which is awareness and meditation and mindfulness. And then hopefully people are like, wow, this is fun. We want to do the next 3 tiers. So first tier, 6 weeks, 2 calls, a Facebook group with support. I could potentially do VIP one-on-ones if there's interest. I'm not sure about that. I'll ask. And then for pricing, I was thinking $20 to $40 a week, which ends up being, hey, come back calculator, 20 times 6 is 120 for 6 weeks, whereas the 37 for 6 weeks is 222. And I want to keep it lower this first round for several reasons, trying to get some people in who maybe wouldn't normally be open to this type of thing, but it's like you can get some of my support and questions and even some astrology and some feng shui if we're talking about that in terms of how to improve your focus and meditation. So 2 group calls, a Facebook group, all of the content, $20 to $40 a week. I guess I could do an early bird price or a later price, but I haven't set anything up to receive pricing yet. And I have a lot of anxiety around pricing, like because I'm running low on money right now. I feel like nobody can afford anything, and I know that that's not reality. So I think I need some support around like feeling confident about asking for money for something that I don't normally do. Like I feel confident asking for money about logos and branding because I've been doing that for years, but why would someone pay me to help them with a meditation discipline and focus instead of just like doing that by themselves? Because I know that they don't, but why would you pay me for that? So that's maybe where I need some support. And then also the talking about channeling, if you guys are open to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Deborah has some thoughts. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, it's like why do you pay someone to do anything? It's because you usually can't do it yourself. Why are we here? Right? I mean, we could like probably read a bunch of blogs about selling stuff and trying to infuse what we know about spirituality in it, but it would take a really long time. And Kristen already has that. She has the marketing background and she also has her witchy side, and so she already has that ready, content ready. Like we just have to step in and do it. So that's why someone would sign up and do that, because they could be like, yeah, I could go on Insight Timer and like try to find like the right meditation or whatever, and like their courses on there too, but like to weed through that might take time. And so that goes back to what you're saying about energetics. You're calling in specific people who want to work with you and what you're offering, your unique stuff. So you need to focus on there are tons of people out there doing meditation stuff, but focusing on what you're uniquely offering, and you're calling in those people who want your energy, your container, what is special about you. So it's not necessarily about like the content per se, but like one is ease. Like it's just easier to do stuff when it's like packaged in a program or whatever, but 2, it's really about you and what you're uniquely offering. So focusing on that and just being like, if you are focused on the energetics, and those people are going to want what you have and will be able to afford it, that won't even be an issue. So I don't know if that helps, but at least it helps me, because I just feel like that's why we hire people to do stuff, is because we can't do it on our own, or we could, or just take too long and we don't have time. And so we're at a place where we can afford to do it and set aside the time and money to invest into a program that will get us to those results that we want sooner. So I'm not spending a year trying to figure out how to do meditation for myself, because especially in our busy society, like that's just, I mean, it's one of those things like, yeah, I know it's good for me, but I'm just going to keep putting it off because something else came up, or someone got sick or whatever, instead of it being like, this is a daily practice that can anchor me and ground me so I can do the things that I need to do. And then Kelly can help me do that and form that practice. So I'm not trying to figure it out on my own, because I don't really honestly trust myself to be that accountable, because I will put it off. And if you're with a group of people too and you're getting that energetic support, like we're all doing it together, then it's easier. So those might be some things to focus on. I'm not familiar with channeling, so I'll let the other witchy folks talk about that.
Thank you so much. It's very helpful.
Can I jump in?
Please.
All right, Deborah, let's tag out. So, so you're a 5-1 for a fucking reason. So that's my energetic bit about, even my voice was like, bleh. You know all the things, and I'm always like, Kelly, how do you remember and bring them out in the week? So that is, like to Deborah's point, that is what people are coming for. Because I could learn those things, but I also would forget what I learned, because that's just not, it's not me. And as someone who you already know is going to be like, Kelly, drop the link. it's just, I think if you start with that as a way to explore the energy work of like you are a 5-1, like just have that be the self-validation, and then like what does that then afford you with your experience, then that could just be like one piece of like, yeah, there's endless pieces you could take. But then on the channeling part, so what I've experienced is that the moments where I finally like rest, but without the intention of resting, where like I just let my body like not collapse, so to speak, find myself in a moment where I'm stare, then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, I'm channeling. And so it's often the times where we're not necessarily seeking it if you're like trying to start the process of strengthening that or being more open to it. So another thing that's helped me is moving energy through my body, like going on a walk, but listening to something that's talking about a certain topic that I'm curious about, or just is anything witchy or energy related, because that, for me at least, allows there to be that external energy of like shifting the energy I'm in about what I would like to get clarity on, or like for the channeling to start, and then physically moving that energy through my body. For me, feels like the on-ramp to then start channeling. So those are two things that I've experienced. And also I've really challenged myself to stretch my definition of channeling, because I was like, oh, it has to be something where at the end you know what you got. And for me, it's not that. I'll know it's happening because I like physically will start looking like a slinky, and then sometimes like my head snaps back and I'm like, oh my God, I'm glad I have this like neck that has a lot of experience with this heavy ass head, because I would be broken. And so I had to allow that. It takes a few days to get the pieces, but then it's like when I was talking to Deborah before, dragonfly moments where you're like, like there's just so many things coming. And so I'll know that's the integration and the receiving. And so like, so it's sort of like physically move before, and like it'll activate it. And then the next day or two have a similar approach to movement, whether that's a walk or some yoga. And then that, it's almost like not a fence, but like it corrals it in of like, it's a lighthouse. It's like, oh, come in here. And it helps like integrate and have it be embodied. And it's usually from that second round of physical interaction with it that there's actually tangible things coming through. So that's just my experience. I know I want to start trying the journal approach, where just like consciousness writing. But with me having a defined head and ajna, like I'm in my head and ajna, like, will that work for me? So I just am going to try that. But like I've found, because of my openness, which is something you taught me too, of like I need to have this body to anchor in. And so yeah, anything that can, and you can specifically ask your open centers, hey, are you a place where I can channel from? Because I've been really drawn to my spleen lately. And at first I was telling myself it's just because I was like, it must be so nice to have a splenic authority in the sense that it's like so quick compared to like soundboarding. But then I was like, no, that's not really what it is. I need to spend some time there. Oh, and that's the other thing I would say about sort of like energy work as well. Realizing that we sell from our open centers was like, but with having 7, I'm at the point of like, I'm trying to sell from all 7, so I need to rein in that way. But like I would get curious and start talking to your open centers, and even looking at which the messages you have for the Mint Passage, which centers that you have open are those most resonating with. And then that's how you can also have that lens of sharing out, because people with that center also open want your wisdom from it, or people who have it defined but they're out of alignment want that wisdom. And so if you have a defined like head, for example, and you're trying to force it out as a process in a heady way, that's an energetic gap, because that's not where you've accumulated the wisdom of what it really is. You might be packaging something that has an order that's head and ajna, but the experience that you're packaging comes from the openness. So
that's so cool. Thank you for sharing all that. I feel like when you were talking, it made me realize some of my issue is, again, the lack of trust, because I don't always know if it's me or my thoughts or my guides, or like where is this coming from? Like I just assume that it's always me. I just take ownership of everything. Like I know that not all thoughts are mine and not everything I think is real, but I don't like Anna will be like, oh, my guides are saying, and I always just take ownership for what I'm saying. Carlos and I were watching something, I don't remember, but there was like an indigenous phrase that they were like, I trust what my guides are showing me, or like I trust, the path that's being presented before me, rather than saying like I trust myself. It's like I trust what's being presented to me.
Yeah, perhaps there's a space to play and sit with what am I a conduit for? And that could be like, how are our identities and actually being ourselves and tapping into our divinity a conduit for ourselves, like to get to that authentic place. Yeah, and so I've had really similar experience with thoughts of like, it has to just be me, where I'm like, can it be a very different voice, please? Or like, like thinking that it has to be some way. But I've noticed then, and this is where I'm glad I have this in clarity's process of like, when there's a lot of things where I'm like, oh, these, like the dragonflies are happening much faster. I'm like, yeah, I couldn't have predicted, like I couldn't have made those things happen from thoughts, because there's that surprise, there's that best case surprise, like those things are happening so rapidly that I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have the attention span to make that happen. And so it doesn't necessarily, like it hasn't directly been like, no, I know which things are mine, but like that's helped the trust, because I'm like, oh, it leads to something that is just catalytic in a way that wasn't me without the conduit piece.
That's cool. I like that. Thank you so much. What am I a conduit for?
Yeah, I mean, also, yeah, I'm not like into channeling, but I guess I do have like intuitive things that come up. But like, I guess part of that is like proof is in the pudding stuff, because sometimes I have to get feedback and it'll be like, oh yeah, that's so spot on. I'm like, okay, then that probably didn't come from me. Because I'll just say some weird random shit and it's perfect for that person. Then I know that's not for me. And that's fine. But at the same time, in my head, I'm like, I don't want to be all like, we're like the Borg or anything, like my guides and ancestors. But if it fits, I don't care where it comes from, I guess. If I, like, coming from someone who's consulting me, then I'm just like, hey man, like wherever it came from, like Neptune or you or your guides, if it fits, it fits. I don't care. Like that's me personally. So I think if someone's coming to you like for some sort of session like that, like if you want to put a disclaimer of like, like where I'm getting information from is kind of from my spiritual team and me, like I guess what I'm trying to say is like making that division might not even make sense if you're part of this kind of collective of like your spiritual team, and so like you're probably hearing stuff from them all the time, and then you're I don't think it's always like we hear this voice, or at least that's not been my experience. It's more like kind of like along the same lines of what Laura was saying about dragonflies. Like I just feel like it's like the way the information comes in. Like I think when it's forced, or like you're trying to come up with something that comes through your head. At least I know. Let me look at my chart again. I think I have an open head in Ajna. So like I know when it's me like trying to come up with some thing, but like for me, like when there's an ease that comes through, or I think again with Lori, like I've seen like where it's like just like it can be kind of rapid fire. Like, at least the way I've seen people channel is almost like, oh my god, like there's so much information, I can't even like keep up with that. Like your brain can't do that. At least my brain can't. I'll speak for my brain. My brain cannot come up with like 10 million ideas. If someone especially coming with a question or an issue, like if there's flow and it's like a lot of flow, then you can assume that like your spiritual routine is like giving you the information. At least that's been my experience, especially from observing other people. They'll just be like, and there's a confidence there that it's like, I am on fire. Like I've heard people just be like, I'm on fire. I'm super confident about this in a way that it can't really come from you, like unless they're trying to be a scammer, which I just
That's the thing that I can't relate to, but maybe that's just me
Yeah.
as a 5'1". I've never felt like I'm on fire, I'm killing this, like get all the information. Like
Well,
no,
those people, I'll say, like, the one person I'm thinking about, like, she's been doing this for like ever. So, like, so I think that confidence also comes with time and like knowing, like, but she'll be saying, like, I don't even know who's speaking right now. She just knows that it's not her. You can tell, like, it's almost like her voice shifts a little bit. It's not scary, but it's just, there's just this solidity there when she speaks and she's like doing channeling that is, it's not her, but there's, yeah, I think that's another thing to, but I guess that again that comes with practice and like getting comfortable with like that flow. But like I know for me, like I'm not like, this isn't something that I'm seeking out like as, hey, I mean, I don't want to be a medium or anything like that, but I just feel like when I've gotten intuitive hits, that come from elsewhere. The way that I confirm that it's not me is like if someone is just like, oh man, like that totally speaks to me. But I mean, of course, you can't bank on that all the time because sometimes I've received stuff where I'm just like, I don't think that's for me right now. Like I need to file that away for later because it's just like I'm not sure this fits. That's not to say it's wrong. I just think like with that sort of stuff, spiritual beings, entities don't really understand time. They just see things. And so like they could be speaking the truth to you, but it might not even matter until 10 years later. And it's not like they're off. It's just kind of like, this is what we feel like is important to you right now to know. So I don't know if that helps, but at least that's been my observation, my personal experience with that sort of stuff is that your body knows, it's like, it's not, it has, it, it's like what Lori said about being a conduit. Like you can feel like it's not something that you could just force or come up with, because also people can also sense that when you're trying to be like, try to make something happen like spiritually. Like the ease and flow for me has been the markers of like true channeling, that it's not just like, I don't know, your intuition knows, your gut knows, like it just, there's something that's just different, that feels different. And yeah.
Do you have a relationship with your Claire, Kelly? And you get to hear her, she sing the I Want to Eat Your Food song.
that is so precious. Yeah, I think that I have a little bit of all of them. I definitely have the Claire cognizance of just knowing most of the time. And then the Claire sentience might be my second strongest, just the feeling.
Because I'll sometimes see, so like Deborah, you had mentioned when you're with someone in a session or speaking, I'll see a certain image and know that's how they need the message. And that to me feels like the conduit part. So I was speaking with a friend that's a 6'2", and she's new to human design. So I was saying that I was feeling like, I was like, you're the tidal wave. And there's moments where you feel you're the tidal wave coming in, or you're the person in the hotel and you don't know which person. And she instantly was like, that is exactly the feeling. And I wouldn't have, if I was sitting down to write a post, necessarily thought of that, but that's like how it was. So like, yeah, just an invitation to feel into your Clairs too, because that could be how that's happening as well. And Hershey has her thoughts.
Love Hershey. Yeah, Shelby, go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm just gonna be like, this is in my jam, my realm of my jam. So the way I teach intuition is really also energy and channeling. Like for me, intuition is like how we connect, and it's like part of how we connect into these things. How we read energy is our intuition, but also energy work and intuition and all these things. So first of all, I want to go back. Why would people pay you? Because they want the benefits you are highlighting from the cards. One, so like use those. And then two, the ease that Deborah was talking about saves time and money. So by coming to you, they're saving the time and money of the resources, really, of like having to go do it elsewhere and whatnot. Like it, so I just want to like jump back to that real quick.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What was missing in like your mint passage thing, I didn't really feel like there was something missing as you were talking. And that kind of brings us then into the channeling, like the feeling of these things and like what's going on and whatnot. So I'd be curious if you took my quiz and you could tell me which like stage you were at if you haven't taken it yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So I suspect you're probably not in emerging, which is the first level. And that's all about just knowing your body responses and your mind responses. So like detangling the channeling cord or that intuition cord, that receiving cord from like what my body's doing, all the other like things like I'm hungry, I'm cold, like I have this thought about this thing, like the dog's making noise, like there's a wind outside, like was that another earthquake, so like untangling it from all those other things. And then the second level is the growing intuitive, and from there it's beginning to know your clairs, and it's about application. So, and on unconscious bias, because I make people take the quiz, because that's further untangling what is mine and what I've been given from that channel, right? So I teach to start compiling your own like dictionary in a way, like what symbols mean what to you, and then bringing awareness to like your dreams or your art, or what you're seeing in day-to-day life. One of the activities is actually to make like one of those Zen tangles, where like you just kind of like draw and like let it go, and then you look back and you see like what's there. Because for me, and it depends on like your clairs, like how it shows up, but for me it's like I will see a thing in my mind, so a clip, I will know a thing, or I will feel a thing in my body. And so knowing what things mean somewhat comes with experience. So like when I'm in somebody's energy and I'm doing Reiki, I'm seeing a dark blue splotch. That's a past energy, a past life energy. And only I know that because I've gone through and I've explored it in people's stuff. So that's where that application starts coming in.
So cool.
And then to go from, because it's practice, right? And then you can take the quiz each time you like do a thing, or like kind of like you're doing with your group, like each day they report back in, right? On their sheet, you can take the quiz after 1 month, after 2 months, whatever, each time, and you can see your progress in your points level. And that'll change according to the day and according to what's going on, of course. And then the last course takes you from a sensitive to a deep intuitive. So there's the 4 levels in each course, kind of fits in between each one. And that's the one that's coming up. And it's really, I would probably guess that you're either in the growing or sensitive, like you're in that space because you're one sort of like, you trust your intuition, like you do intuitive things, but it's also detangling the stuff, tuning into it more, and then trusting. And some of that trust comes from knowing yourself, which can be hard to do. But when we know ourselves, and I know I have anxiety and I feel my anxiety here, and I know what my anxiety feels like. When I'm feeling somebody else's anxiety, I can go then, does this feel like mine? Is this mine? And taking that time to like think about it. The people who are just like zap, zap, zap when they're giving you a reading, so to speak, is because they don't have that questioning going on because they've gone through and trusted for all those years. But taking that time to start like, is it my anxiety? Is that somebody else's anxiety? Because as like empaths, you're going to feel that. As a projector, you're going to feel other people's energy, right? And so it becomes like is that mine? Is that somebody else? And that took some time while I was doing Reiki sessions. And I'm still like, all right, I know I haven't eaten today, but I'm feeling this pit in my stomach. And so I'll say like, I don't know if that's mine or yours. Like, does that mean anything to you? And it can be both, because it can be messages for both people. If you're inside of a session where you're giving messages to somebody else, if it's just for yourself, you don't have to do that so much. But so the last level, it's about knowing yourself. And in some ways, through knowing ourselves, we can trust ourselves and have confidence in our decisions. And when we also know ourselves, like the other people's questions that we've picked up about ourselves don't pop in as much. So I don't remember what you had said, but there was like a point where you had said something, and to me, it sounded like somebody else's questioning of you. But like that will pop in sometimes at that point. And so knowing yourself can help to push that away a little bit too.
Okay.
Then the trust and confidence does come from application, but it also comes from the knowledge, and wisdom comes from application. So those are some of my thoughts. For me, I do the journaling, channeling, that Laura was talking about. And what I do is I think I have a blog post about it recently too, but I write out in conversation form to whatever other thing I'm trying to tap into. The intuition is the tool, the channeling is the tapping into the other thing. So while I'm in this process of channeling and tapping into this other thing, I'm having a conversation with it, and I'm writing out my thought, like, okay, what is this thing? And usually there's an immediate thought that has formed before I've even finished writing out my thought. And that's the response that I write down. And sometimes it could be me, sometimes it could be the thing, but having that like sort of documentation, and maybe typing works better, but having that for me allows me then to go back and look at it too. And then you can tap into, what's this mean? What's this something else as well? So you've got that review. I'm going to say review, but that's kind of how I've done it. And then at some point, like Deborah said, it's kind of like it doesn't matter what you're tapping into as long as it helps the person. And so a lot of times we get this thought of, am I a fraud thought, or am I really doing this, or is this just me? And I used that as fuel in a way to be like, it doesn't matter. And I still like feel this thought. I'm like, what if my this magic Reiki is just like all made up? And it's like, well, people are still getting something from this, and they're telling me their feedback that they're getting something from this. So if you yourself are getting something from it, regardless of where it's coming from, like that's the goal, is that you're moving the needle forward, you're able to get these things, and you're feeling secure, safe, confident, like capable, you're feeling like a little less afraid, like whatever that is, like that's the important thing. I think that's a little bit what Deborah was saying too.
Yeah, I think that is more aware of where some of my gap is. Like, I think I feel maybe not confident, but I don't question myself in client sessions when things come up. I mean, I may question it, but I'll still say it. But I think it's more for when I'm doing stuff for myself and with myself, like just trusting myself and my perception of myself and knowing myself. So I do feel like I know myself very well when I'm not influenced by outside things. So good reminders. And maybe I should do some hero's journey stuff too, to like reaffirm who I am and what I know is me. And the journaling is probably a good pathway to explore feeling into when some of those messages are for me or not, which maybe it doesn't matter, but like, I think what I'm trying to say is that as long as I've established boundaries, that the messages are coming from, a place that's for my highest good and for the highest good of all involved, then that is where it shouldn't matter, because I shouldn't be questioning like what's coming in.
At the end of the day, you still get to make the choice.
Right.
If you're getting a message from XYZ, to do ABC. You still at the end of the day get to make the choice to do ABC.
Right.
So
Cool.
yeah, like regardless of where that source is or whatever, like you still have the authority at the end of the day to follow that or not. And that's not
cool.
good or bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you didn't do something right if you don't follow it, or
The authority is mine.
I don't know if it also helps that, I mean, this is where I'm not as woo-woo, but it might help, but that, you know, that you are connected to the divine, that you are divine, so that whatever choices you're making are of divine and are, I mean, you could say like what you were just saying about, hey, like this is, anything that I'm sharing or receiving is for the greatest and highest good of me and everyone involved, or for whatever situation. I think, at least for me, that takes out the, is it me, or, because I think sometimes, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but like, is it me means like I'm fallible, I'm not as holy or whatever, as spiritual beings, which, I mean, spiritual beings are just spiritual beings, and this is just me coming from a very evangelical background, especially if we're talking about like, I don't know, ancestors. Yes, there's some that you definitely want on your side. There's some you definitely want to keep to the side and be like, you're not whole yet. You need to. You're on your own healing journey. But like, at least for me, if I know that I'm basically in the light, divine, then anything that will be coming to me in terms of messages are of that nature. But I will just echo also what Shelby said, that you still get to have choice, and but at least knowing that you're not, I mean, you're not coming from a bad place, or not coming from some nefarious place. I mean, if you are like cranky or whatever, you know how to ground yourself and deal with that. If you feel like your perspective is a little janky, that's fine. Like, you are human too, but I feel like if that's like still a hinge that you're still like, I don't know, like knowing that you're from divine, you are divine, I think helps. And in terms of like also just knowing that, and then that helps with filtering out like what may not be of your greatest and highest good. So I mean, yeah,
That's
just
pretty
basically
nice.
echoing what you're saying and what Shelby was saying.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I probably do forget. Maybe it's, how complex and sometimes evil people can be here on Earth, but like we are just humans doing our best for the most part. And like what's best for me isn't always what's best for other people. And there's going to be those places that don't mix. Lori, what do you mean my self-projectorness?
Yeah, so do you soundboard?
No, my authority is willpower. So
Oh, I thought you were, but yeah, isn't that still self-projected or no?
No, it's ego. It's from my heart.
Oh, okay, never mind. Why did I think you were self-projected? Yeah, so what do you do for that though? What's your connection process?
It's a feeling into. I describe it like a rototiller, but sometimes talking it out helps, but it's really more like it happens like this. It's like I feel into things a little bit more and then a little bit less, and I kind of dial through, and I have to like it's when I marinate. I said I have to like marinate things, and then if it's in alignment, it kind of clicks on like little gears clicking into place, and then it feels like that's when the motor clicks on.
Moments.
Yeah.
I'll ask because I'll send you the post once I find it. I'm pretty sure I know who it was. They just posted a really helpful thing about, oh no, maybe not. I'll find it. I just took a screenshot about authorities in terms of like which cosmic frequency. So like, I don't know what words to use. So for mine as soundboarding, it was that I have divine voice. So it's like I reach my decision from having the clarity of like energetic divinity coming through my voice of like soundboarding or writing. And so that might be another thing to just like have something to throw on the wall.
I'm super curious about the human design perspective of channeling, like from the different areas. And when we're talking about this too, it also makes me wonder, because I have to find throat and ajna, but an open crown, but it's split from my G center and my will. So, maybe for me, I do need some invitation to connect the motor to the definition, to the wisdom. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll send
Interesting
that post.
conversation. If you
And
could.
I'm trying to remember your ego. Why did I think? I think it's because I 5 to you that your energy to me feels so sure, and it's probably that G center being defined. Like I just like know Kelly's energy, so I committed that to memory as you have to be self-projected because you're so full of like you're sure of self from my projection. So I will try to stop projecting that onto you since that's not.
I'm the unicorn projector. I'm like 1% of 1%. Yeah. Which is cool. I like that about myself, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, thanks. Good conversation. I appreciate y'all. Definitely helpful. I've just been feeling like my guides and my cards and everything are like, use your telepathy, use your channeling, you know, do the dream stuff. But I think that I'm lacking the discipline. So that's partially what is going to help with the meditation practice. Yes.
That reminded me of something else I wrote down. What meditations can I provide you to help with calling the clients in and making that connection and those kinds of things? Are there?
We have the calling clients in that I'm going to do. Sometimes I do get confused. I don't know if this is a feedback for anybody on Kristen's world with the meditations, but sometimes I wish I had like a thing that was like telling me when to use which meditation and why, because I kind of get confused. I'll like think to my brain, this is what I need, and then I get in there and I'm like, is it? I need all of them. Like, how do I pick? Yeah, so I definitely overthink it, but I think calling in the clients, I might even do yours, Shelby, the Reiki for the align and magnetize. I think that might be a good one. And if you think of anything else that's in the same vein, maybe a confidence. Do we have anything confidence Reiki that we've done? I can't remember. That would be my only energy support that would benefit me the most, I think.
I'm gonna look at the group.
Yeah.
My brain isn't good for like remembering things. It's so here's the like other side to like what Lori says about like the channeling, and then it's like gone and it integrates. Like for me it's like gone. Like I channel these things and they're just gone, and so I have to like try to remember what I actually did. So let me look at the group here real quick because there's a document.
Yeah, that would make me feel supported and good. And if we don't, then I'm sure I'll manage. There's always YouTube.
Yeah, but it just made me think of like what else can, like if we have this space and we have this availability for support, what else can we in there?
We did the one with the courageous leadership. Maybe I should do that one.
Yeah,
was that
was September. Month? Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. I feel like there was another one previous to that was similar. Maybe January? No, March. March was coronavirus clearing fears and empowerment. So there may have been something in the empowerment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will take a look and see. Yeah, we'll just take a look and see if like I have recommendations. Yeah, and then maybe if Kristen has the energy, she can sort of put something together. I don't know. I can bring it to her to respond to.
Yeah, thank you. You're amazing.
You're welcome. Does everybody feel like they got everything they needed? Or at least like you have somewhere to start? I know sometimes things are like overwhelming and there's a lot, but do you feel like at least you have somewhere to start? Okay, see nods, okay. Okay, good. Do you have any housekeeping questions? So we have our first call today. The next week is the co-working call, and the week after that on Friday is the group Reiki, and then the last Friday is the second mentorship call. do you have?
Yeah, when is this group over? This month? Like the whole program? What's our frame?
Yeah. So we have Group A and Group B currently going through. Group A moves through sometime in November because we stopped a couple of times to like pause and like integrate things and whatnot. And I think there were some things Kristen wanted to add. So like there's a little extra like wiggle room space in there. She wants to do a group like closing call of some sort. So we will be seeing that as it gets closer to that time. So you do have some prep. You may see like a questionnaire or a review coming through too. So that way you have a little bit of a heads up as it's coming to the close. So it's not like, hey, guess what, next week. So I would say you have this month, and I would say there's probably 2 or 3 weeks into November still for Group A. So that would be people who came in last October, November. And then there's Group B who came in earlier this year. So I just want to like clarify that, especially for anybody who's watching the recording. For some reason, like there are 2 groups, so don't feel like there's some stuff in there.
Is the closing call going to be just for Group A, or?
I don't know all of her thoughts. I did bring it to her attention and was like, hey, so people are ending soon. What do you want to do? And she was kind of like, here's what I'm thinking, but I need to like check in with some things first and whatnot. So I'm giving you the heads up on the stuff without all the details.
Perfect.
Because I know I would start having anxiety if I want to give you some of the ideas. So you have a heads up first before we get to the point where it's like, because that's how I would react, not that everybody else would react that way. So, yes, that is my understanding currently. I am sure if whoever wants to tag Kristen in a question in the group, she can elaborate more because she is in the group and she is active in the group. She's just doesn't have the bandwidth to be on a longer call like this at the moment. So she can respond. And that might give her more to respond to, honestly.
Okay.
Since she needs that for her authority.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's my, at least what I have and what I can give you.
Thank you so much.
I'm never sure if it's enough because that's what I got. So any other housekeeping questions or thoughts? Yeah, use that one pieces. Okay. So we left everything I had. Yeah, so expect for the Group A people, expect that you'll be seeing more information about like a review or a questionnaire of some sort and things that'll be like sort of leading up to your close. You are also available to renew. That is a possibility. I don't know what that'll look like yet, but that was something that was thrown to me and I could share with you guys. So, and that's something for Group B people that you know ahead of time, there is the opportunity to renew. Usually there is some sort of discount price because you already have the content. What you're getting is then the calls and the access and things like that. So there is a possibility to renew, and then usually you will have some sort of step down at the end. So don't feel like we're not gonna like leave you out to dry sort of thing. We're gonna make sure you have space and are supported through the process no matter which direction you choose to go in after this. Okay, I see some nods, I see some smiles. Okay, so I know it's fun times and what's the word I want? Fun times in like the day of Corona or something like that. Like it feels like there's like a movie title or something that I'm pulling that from. But oh, fun times at Ridgemont High. So this is the fun times at like in the time of Corona. So that's what we've got our stuff coming up. You have the events. If you have questions, you can always tag anybody in the group, Pam, Kristen, myself, Ardelia even, but that's more like tech-y sort of things. Pam can answer some of those questions too. And I think that's about it. Happy Friday. Yes, Kelly.
Quick question. Do you know, like for Kristen's Soul of Her Business meditation, is that an opt-in link that we can share out to people?
I think it's in, she used to have it as like just the meditation as an opt-in. I'm not sure if that's still available or if it's now just part of the bundle and you can share the bundle. If you look under your affiliate section,
Okay.
so if you go into the dashboard in your affiliate section, you have various links for things.
Okay.
So you probably have Spellbinding Sales. You may have to sign up with an affiliate though. So if you don't see that section, reach out to Ardelia and Pam, get signed up as an affiliate.
Okay.
Then you'll have SS, I assume TCP, because everybody received that. And then if you have access to the meditations, you should also have a link for that.
Okay.
That's my understanding. But we can ask Kristen if she's still doing it as an opt-in or not, because I know it was, and I was sharing it with people.
Yeah.
But then she changed things, and I'm not so certain.
Okay. We can follow up. Thank you. Do you need any support, Shelby?
I am good, thank you. I am doing my thing, and like, I feel like this and doing this over here are walking with our achievement. Yeah, I think it's good, you know. They're like updates. Oh, I'll just share a little bit what I'm doing, I guess, real quick for you guys. And I know Lori's tired, so I won't take too long. But yeah, so I ended up moving back home because of the whole apartment cockroaches thing. And then we've been here for a little bit. My dad's on vacation, so we just figured we'll just stay longer. And it gives me more time to build up income and things, since a lot of apartment places want like 3 times the income in order to rent. And so we're watching the cats, and as I've told Lori, like I feel like I have like 3 hats on at all times. So like managing a 1,200 square foot home that is not including the basement. So I think including the basement is probably about like 2,000, and it's on like about an acre. Although some of that is like foresty, woods, and river. So yeah, so managing all of those things. So that's what's kind of going on. And then also prepping for the Live Your Intuition launch, so that if people who didn't get it as part of Deepen Your Intuition have the opportunity to just get that. And that's going on. And then, yeah, figuring out if we're staying in Michigan, if we're moving, what that's going to look like, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Well, lots of
that's my
stuff.
life. It feels like a lot of stuff.
Pretty crazy about the governor of Michigan almost getting kidnapped, but I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, that was. So I don't know if you guys remember back, but when she was like first like in office over the coronavirus thing, there was people who were protesting at the state capitol with guns, and they were like in the building and things like that. So she had upped security since then, but it doesn't surprise me that people would think about taking it whatever steps further. So as far as I know, like they've caught people. There's probably more people, and they're continuing the investigation. But they were able to catch it before, or make a move at least, because they've probably been watching it for some time. You know, like they made their move before anything happened. But yeah, we have like 3 women in prominent positions right now in our government. So we have Whitmire. I feel like we also have somebody else who's like in the like police-y army sort of realm, whatever that is. Let's see, I'm great with government. And I feel like, oh, and then another woman was elected when Whitmire came in, and she's up for re-election right now. So they're going through that process. She's just a Senate seat.
So no wonder you're all just pissed, huh?
Congress seat. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it brought up a lot of like stuff. I mean, it was a pretty big sweep for Michigan is kind of what happened. And so even though it was still was 1% more votes for Trump or something like that, we did do a pretty big sweep of other areas. And so people are upset. Because we know the way misogyny and like everything else works, like I can see where all of this is coming from. Not that I think it's reasonable or we should, but like I can follow the trail. So that's kind of what's going on. And yeah, I don't know. I live in Pinckney, so I'm like 30 minutes from Ann Arbor, which is pretty progressive. They've had a 420 bash for like ever before marijuana was like legalized recreationally. And then so we get some of that, but it's also rural, so we do get a lot of like the other stuff. So we get like a weird like conservative pot smoker kind of thing, which is to me. But yeah, so yeah, and we're like just around the corner from Hell. So literally, you guys have never heard of Hell, Michigan. Like it's literally around the corner. There's a dam there. So we also have the dam site in, and it freezes over. So if you ever need to use that for any witty thing, it does freeze over. Hell freezes over in Michigan. But yeah, so that's like where I'm at, and I'd love like everything closes so much earlier. I'm not used to not having like 3 or 4 different Starbucks to choose from. I miss having a super Target. Like it makes me mad that I can't get like all the things that I used to be able to get at Target. Like all the groceries. They do have like a P Fresh is what they call it, but they do have like a fresh section, but it's not as big. Like it was like a Walmart almost. Like you had like food, you had like your, all your different sections. So I miss that. Everything closes like at 8. Like the coffee shop that's closest to us closes at 6, whereas like all the Starbucks are like open until like 10 or 11 because it was a college town. So like I miss all of this stuff. The McDonald's doesn't have 24-hour breakfast. So like it closes breakfast at 11. They're a franchise. They're not part of the like corporate McDonald's, and that's part of why.
I love all your tourist concerns about
these are my concerns.
Like, no.
What's your environment?
Muggy.
Oh no, I meant in the design environment.
Yeah, no, muggy. Like it's like the
the wet kitchen.
Tropical. I don't think it's the kitchen, but it's like a tropical.
Okay, what?
That's what the kitchen is.
Something.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I'm the wet kitchen too.
Okay, yeah, it's a tropical sort of vibe.
Yeah, I was just reading something about it, and it's like was saying like which ones are more likely to need amenities, more accessible to have that coziness thing. So that was just making me curious because I was surprised that cave, like I would self-identify as that, but when I even saw that cave was in there, I was just like, yeah, because then it's like we want to know when we leave the cave that we're gonna get what we need. So like that makes sense.
Okay.
If you're gonna leave the bustle of the kitchen, so to speak, or like that environment, then you want to be able to get your resources and come back.
I just got used to having everything less than 10 minutes away, and it is a 10-15 minute drive into Brighton, which has like the Starbucks, the Target, the Myers, which is the bigger grocery store chain, all the food places. Like Pinckney is smaller. We have like 2 separate ends. We have Kroger's and we have the Bush's end, and so Bush's has the McDonald's, and like we have like 25 pizza places. So if you need pizza, we've got pizza covered. But like anything else, like it's just like a little bit of drive, and I like hate it. And not that I necessarily want to go back to Norman, but I miss like the small college town sort of thing. Like you do not like I got very much used to it. Like I used to live this, and like shooting into Brighton was like no big deal, but now I'm like, I don't want to go into Brighton. Like who wants to go into Brighton? Like I already went there today, I want to go back. Like that's kind of how I feel. So Yeah, and there's a Starbucks in Bushes. So I feel like if I want Starbucks in Peking, I have to drive down to Bushes. But then they wouldn't accept my coupon, so I don't know if it's like one of those like, it's weird. Like it didn't take my coupon for some reason, so I'm just like, I just want like an actual Starbucks, like just its own building, just like Starbucks by itself. Not like in something. A lot of our Starbucks are like in places. We've got one in Target. We've got one in Bushes. There is one in Brighton that is an actual Starbucks, but I think that's the only actual Starbucks in the area. Whereas like in Norman, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Starbucks that were their own location, including the ones that were in places. So like the one in Target and things like that. So this is my adjustment period. And so I'm looking at like, okay, where is everything in, like, I'm looking at Wilmington, North Carolina. So I'm like, where is everything in Wilmington? Like what kind of like small city, like college towns can I kind of get that's near the ocean on like different places? And so like if I move to California, I have like 2 locations, like Santa Barbara is one of them. There's 2 locations in LA that I've scoped out that like here I would be close by to the things that I want. I also want a place that has a small airport. LA has a really big airport. Santa Barbara has a small airport. Norman had a small airport. Norman had a tiny one. We went to the Oklahoma City one, which was small, but I could fly into other places and I don't mind transferring. But I want to be able to like fly out to places if need be. And so I think Wilmington has one. Myrtle Beach, I think, is not college towny enough for me. I think I need the like influx of young people, like energy. So
It's definitely not people of color friendly. I'd probably never go there. Myrtle Beach, that is.
Yeah, no,
So-
my husband doesn't like it either, so we probably won't ever live there because of the class issues. That with some of the Southern culture, like we went to a restaurant and the fact that like the wait staff was treated as your family, but like you knew like they were treated as your family. Like, you know, there's like that weird distinction. So it's like, oh, you're like serving me, but we're like being nice about it because you're like family, but you're not. Like at the same time, like it's that weird like thing. So like that really threw him off. And brought to my awareness too, because like we do that every year. So I was kind of like, this is somewhat normalized. Yeah. So I'm trying to find places that are not, you know, like Ann Arbor's big and Ann Arbor would be nice, but like it's a lot of one-way streets and like weird things and like that. Like it would just rather be somewhere that has a little bit more space. Like Grand Rapids is nice, but I don't want to live on that side of Michigan because they get so much. We got 11 inches of snow in one day on that side of the state.
Lake effect. Yeah.
Lake effect. I don't want to live on that side of the lake. So
Got it.
yeah. Arizona and New Mexico might be interesting. It's not close enough to the ocean for me, but it would be an interesting place to live for a couple of years, I think. So.
If you end up needing or wanting a lily pad place to on your ocean, Morgantown is sort of halfway between and the ocean to the East Coast, and that's like that type of small college vibe place thing. They have Starbucks in case that but that might be like
Starbucks.
Yeah, if you need like a lily pad option that's sort of on that way to Wilmington and whatnot.
Thank you. Yeah. I have like family in like Greensboro area, and I don't want to go too far north because then we get too much snow. But that's where we're at. It's like we just have decisions to make, but we don't have to make them immediately. So, stuff. But thank you, Lori, for the suggestion. I appreciate it.
I also was just saying that because it's like an hour from Pittsburgh. So. Totally selfish reasons, but
no, that's fine. I appreciate that. Yeah, so that's where we're at with things. So, and then Kyle's got may or may not like he's got his journey too, and so like we may end up moving after this again, or it might be a little bit. So it's just like weird things that like So just where we're at, you know, lily padding around. So yeah, that's what's going on with me. Thank you, Kelly, for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. It's nice to hear your updates.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for listening and staying on. And make sure Lori gets her nap. And if you have any questions, put them in the group. If you have questions for me specifically, you can reach out to me. Tag Kristen for the things like, what the heck are we doing, or whatever. The Kristen directed things, and yep. And then you have the schedule for things, and that's about it. I think that's all the stuff.
Thank you.
Welcome. Happy
Thanks,
Friday,
everyone.
everybody.
Yeah, happy Friday.
Take care.
See ya.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.